Hello.
Oh boy, I'm in the middle.
Hey guys!
Hi.
You're in the middle.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey
Oh.
everybody!
That's what I was saying. So this is all gonna be fucked up because Roy
The
is
names are
no longer
totally
in the
wrong
top
place
left.
now. Yeah. Morgan is now both Toctopus and Mapsio Morgan.
We love that
Well,
you're in the
I
middle.
just put all of our names at the top, so like it wasn't really because like if it had been originally, then you would have been TL Breezy, and then. But yeah, we just named everybody up there.
Like, where everybody's giving us crap for being late.
Where's Tony's bitch ass? I mean, do you not see him on the thing?
Hi
He's
Zeus,
the
hi
top left.
Paka,
Hi
Here with
guys.
my
hi
bodyguard.
Tater,
Hello,
Yeah,
everyone.
all
hey
right.
Blade.
So as you know, we're all super professional. We stick to our schedule. We are on time every time.
A wizard is never late.
They
It arrives precisely
yeah,
when he
they
means
arrive
to.
precisely when they need to.
I have those right there.
So
Really?
we have Rory, who is above me in the top right. We have Morgan, who's dead center. We have Melissa, who is bottom left. Myself, bottom right. And then we have our guest, who is Tony, in the top left, and his bodyguard. That is a cutout.
That's not a cutout. That is actually Randy Orton. We're friends from back when I used to be a pro wrestler.
Oh, alright, alright.
So, we've got a lot of stuff to cover. It's kind of scattered, but let's. So who is Tony? Really?
Who is
Uh,
Tony? How do we know Tony?
Most people might know you from the voice that carries us in Overwatch. Most people might know you from the person in chat who constantly reminds Morgan she plays Yu-Gi-Oh games. Who was Tony?
Well,
Morgan.
I mean, the first thing for people who don't know.
What?
All right, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. Everybody watching on stream, within the sound of my voice, now that you can hear me, Fire Emblem Three Houses is a spiritual sequel to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Duel Academy on the Game Boy Advance.
I'm just gonna go with
Tony
it. at
said
this
his
point.
piece.
I'm just going with it at this point.
Yeah. So when you said you might know him, like from The Voice, and then there was a pause, I was like, was Tony on The Voice?
No,
That's
no,
fucking
not,
sick.
Not like,
Like-
not like the singing show. No, it's like I meant the voice as in the person who cares, because it's just usually one of us who is.
If you ever hear someone screaming in Japanese while playing a tank in a game of Overwatch on stream, it's probably me.
Ha. So we're. Yeah, Tony has been. So Tony, my experience with you, I think I met you playing Overwatch because you're a friend of Morgan's.
Oh, please don't dox me. But yes.
It's like, well, I wouldn't say a
that's
friend,
how
but
I
all
knew you.
right.
Because we were playing Overwatch, and Morgan was like, "Do you guys mind if my friend Tony plays with us?" We're like, "Sure." And he's, I think you played Ryan or something the first time.
Yeah, I think I remember.
I was like,
that.
"This guy's a good Ryan. Let's keep him
Yeah.
forever."
I remember. Oh, actually, I think the first time I actually like spoke to you through text was actually watching Morgan's stream, like in the early days of Morgan streaming.
Yeah, because that's when I didn't realize that he was.
Yeah, I was
Ryu
just gonna say, I was
Samurai.
like, I'm
I
pretty
didn't
sure
know
she
that
didn't
either.
know that was
Yeah.
Tony.
I didn't know
until
either though. He
afterward.
didn't tell me. He just joined my Discord and he's like, "My name's Tony," and I went to a card tournament, and I'm like, "That sounds suspiciously like my friend Tony." And so I asked him one day, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Ryu Samurai," and I was like, "Why didn't you tell me that?"
It's very important that a superhero maintains a secret identity to protect his loved ones.
That's
was it
true.
for Cardfight Vanguard? Was that the one?
It was either that or like YCS Niagara Falls or something.
Ray's very interested in the card tournament.
Ray
It's
loves
Ray's-
magic.
Yes.
Yes, he's huge into magic.
So I don't play Magic regularly because I do shower. But every once in a while, like if
Oh,
a friend wants
burn!
to play, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Whoa! Whoa!
Oh my
Ray
God.
showers, I'm sure.
This is the moment where Ray unfollowed us because he got roasted
Aw.
in any way
Yeah.
possible.
Not only does Ray shower, but he is a fellow bearded man, and he takes care of his beard as well, which is very important.
Well, if
Shout
you
out
got
to
really
Ray.
good
Good
at
night,
Magic,
Lonnie.
Good night, Lonnie.
if he did wind up getting good at Magic, he'd have like food in his beard or something. You don't
Right, so you're
want
saying
that.
it's holding him back. So Ray, the showers are holding you back.
Yeah, if you've ever wanted to get in the
Right,
pro league, you gotta stop bathing.
Mm, that's right. Those are sacrifices you got to make to get the things you want in life.
Imagine being roasted by a motherfucker flanked by Randy Orton.
So
Well, I don't know who you are, Blade, but that was great.
So Tony, you're into some competitive card games. Tell us about those.
So I got my start, like most people my age did. I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh!
I did
Some
too,
of the
yes.
people watching right now are people that I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With. They know all about the legend, the man, the myth.
The myth.
Was
know
your name
what bots
Atem?
are all about. No, I don't know who that is. Just who is she? But I used to travel a lot for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series events. I have a couple friends who still play. One of my closest friends is a guy named Aaron Riker. We used to play a lot together. I was there when he topped his first YCS, and I was there when he went to Worlds. So we used to practice a lot. And then, Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets boring. It's lame. I was tired of watching like bathrooms get destroyed at YCSs and people get choked out. And so I started playing Cardfight Vanguard.
Wait. I feel like you turned it over that.
Yeah, I feel like you just glossed over
Like,
it as if that was
a really,
normal.
really interesting story.
Oh, anytime you go to a YCS in Philadelphia, someone's going to get choked and like people's backpacks are going to be stolen in the bathroom.
Why does someone get choked?
Why? Yeah, can you?
Yeah,
why,
why-
yeah,
That's
can you
the,
explain
that's the
choking?
strangest part of
Like,
it all to me.
This
somehow.
isn't
What
even the strangest thing I've heard go down in a bathroom, because like Rory told everybody here that he's seen someone do coke off a urinal in a bathroom, but this
Yeah,
is
it
also
was
another
gross.
interesting story.
I want to say it was like YCS Philly 2014. I was there with a couple friends, and on the Friday before the event, a small, tiny Japanese man, like maybe like 5'3", decided to drop the N-bomb on like a 6'4" black guy because he didn't want to make a bad trade. So the black guy picked him up by the throat and
my
almost
God.
choke slammed him off of the second floor of the convention center.
Oh Jesus!
A
Whoa.
lot of layers to that.
What? Like, yeah, what
you know-
possesses somebody to?
That's
It's
very
Yu-Gi-Oh!
strange.
That's
It's Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah. I mean, back in the day when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, that wasn't going on, but maybe I wasn't in the right spots, because like the only place I went to play Yu-Gi-Oh was at Comic-Con, and that was like in like 2004.
So there was like a 5 or 6 YCS run over a couple of years where at every single event someone would question my lineage and my birthright, among other things. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very nasty game sometimes. Everyone should play it.
Everyone gets sent to the Shadow Realm. It's a bad time.
I once beat a person at a YCS in the first round of day 1, and they found me on day 2 after I had already been knocked out of the tournament and walked up to me just to tell me that I had ruined their entire weekend. Everyone should feel that once in their life.
Wow, that's incredible song. That's like
Yeah, really though.
And
So-
after I was done with Yu-Gi-Oh,
So they don't
now I
get, they
play
don't get
card
the
fight.
sportsmanship. They don't get the sportsmanship endorsement.
yeah.
Jeez.
well, no, I mean, again, like, they're right. Yu-Gi-Oh is real life, and you're not just gonna let some guy walk up to you and smack you in the face and forget about it.
Did you challenge that guy to a duel after when he came up and was like, "You ruined my weekend"? I'm like, I can ruin it again.
No, I just laughed at him.
Oh, okay. You did the Kaiba thing. All right, got it.
If you die in the card game, you are mildly inconvenienced
In real
in real life. Esports.
So how many active like card games are you actively involved in right now?
Right now, just one. I play Cardfight Vanguard. I'm actually going to an event next week in Atlanta to hang out with one of my friends and, take a plane ride, have some fun, eat some food that's
Sure.
going to make me sick.
Mhm.
And then in 3 weeks, I think, I'm actually going to be in Toronto for another Vanguard regional.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? I was like, that's strangely lining up with almost maybe not, but
Wait, okay. Do you mind if I ask you can like message me if you want later with like some precision on when that 3 weeks is.
Let me pull up the date right now. I can tell you.
Yeah.
If you see me in Toronto and you're like, hey, that's that Tony guy who told us
would
about
it be
people
the week
getting
of the
choked
8th?
at Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, just before you run up to me, just say like, hi, Thunderclap, and I'll know that you're not there to like mug me.
Oh, all right.
Tony, what is your new Twitch name again?
We're going to be there November 2nd and 3rd.
Oh, okay.
So I'll
Alright.
be there
Okay.
November 1st.
Okay.
My Twitch name is TonySK2113.
Okay. I couldn't remember what it was.
And yeah, if you see Randy Orton in Toronto, assume that I'm also near Randy Orton.
Of
'cause he
you're
is my
best friends.
bodyguard.
Yeah. So in terms of like you mentioned like you left Yu-Gi-Oh for reasons that were not to do probably with the actual game so much as they were to do with the people that played the actual game. How much of like choosing a game, like a card game like that, is it choosing the community versus choosing the mechanics and like balance of the actual card game?
A little bit of both. So like Yu-Gi-Oh's mechanics have morphed over like the last like 17 years since the game started in America anyway. And a big thing for me was that I stopped liking how the game progressed probably in the last like 5 or so years. And one of my friends, a guy named Chris, is big into Cardfight Vanguard, and he was like, hey, this is a better game, it's faster, it's cheaper, and, you know, no one will question your sexuality if you beat them.
Okay.
And
yeah.
so it was a big deal for me to be able to beat up people who are dumber and feel better about myself when I win a lot.
So, for those who don't know, because I've never heard of Vanguard, what is that game? Because the last like actual card game I played was Yu-Gi-Oh, and that was like 10 years ago. So,
It's a weave game.
oh, is it?
It is 100% a
Absolutely.
weeb game.
All right, never mind. Forget I asked.
Trev's like, moving on.
Also, I did add.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna make a current guest one, but like, I didn't want to have to like edit it every week, and I was like, yeah.
I can edit it.
All right, as long as I'm not doing it, it's fine.
It's 2113.
This does look super weeby. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's 2113. Yeah.
Oh, didn't you say 2013?
21. Is it
Oh, did you
21?
say 2113? Okay, one sec.
I mean, I full know well how to edit. It's just I don't. It's a lot of typing.
Oh
And
my
yeah,
God.
no, it's a very weeb game, but every spring they have 3-on-3 team tournaments, so you get to play with your friends.
Mm.
And then in the fall, they do the serious regionals where you play, you know, 1-on-1. And I love the 3-on-3 format. It allows me to play with my friends, especially like that Blade Shouldn't Stream guy who can like, I don't know, beat like preschoolers, but he can't beat full-grown adults. So he gets to sit with us, and like maybe
get
he picks
carried?
up the slack. Yeah, exactly. It's a
Damn.
beautiful game.
Blade Shouldn't Stream. How do you feel about that representation? Do you think it was accurate? Or sounds about right. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
If Blade's actually going to Atlanta with us, I'm going to dox him now. He's flying to Atlanta with us. And he already knows that if he loses like 0-2 or 0-3 on Saturday, for day 2, he has to play a game called a Buddy Fight, which is for elementary children. You barely have to know how to read to play it.
Oh.
I once lost to an actual homeless person playing Lolly Mermaids.
It's
yeah.
I don't know how I would react to that.
I don't
There's
know
a
what
lot
I was
there,
expecting.
you know?
There's a lot to unpack here, so we're just
Lolly
gonna
Mermaids, I'm concerned.
Like
Very
I
concerned,
want to
concerned.
Google this, but at the same time I'm terrified.
No, you
No,
don't.
do not.
No.
No.
All right, no, I'll help you guys. In Vanguard, instead of having like different types, they have what they call clans. And so there's a clan that gets support once a year called Bermuda Triangle. which are supposed to be like idols,
Naturally, alright.
but they're also schoolgirls who live underwater because they're mermaids. And there are very expensive versions of the cards, like special rarities, where they have legs, which is very important. And Blade had to play
Okay.
against a guy who had like a $1,200 Vanguard deck, but also looked homeless.
Oh,
He
alright.
put all his money.
Yeah,
into
I
the
mean, I guess if you had a
Essentially.
12,000 Vanguard deck, you wouldn't need to worry about how you were like perceived. It was just like, hey, I have this amazing Vanguard deck.
I mean, he probably lit his car on fire to collect insurance money for the deck, and I can respect that.
Oh my god.
At
That's
least
commitment.
you're
That's
dedicated
real
to the
commitment.
craft.
There's
Yeah.
layers to this. There's layers.
I was just gonna
to
say,
this.
like, if you're able to do that, and were they even good? Like, were they the best they could be? Because like, if you did that and then you didn't become number one, then you should feel bad because like you shouldn't actually have been lighting your car on fire for that.
I don't think they topped, so it probably wasn't worth it.
Okay, I was that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was wearing. So he was wearing actual rags.
Yeah, like he legit looked like a person who had like been panhandling outside the convention center before the event.
Wow.
Paka, what did you find? Okay, that doesn't bode well.
Oh, Paka.
Oh, Paka, you
why?
didn't have to make that sacrifice.
He's seen too much now.
a life for a life, Pack.
A soul for a soul.
Paka, why?
Also, I want to cover this real quick before we get too far from it. But Aries said her birthday was the 4th, so we should all remember that.
Aries' birthday is November 4th?
Yes. Well, it's
Oh.
not.
Ari and I
It's
are
not,
both
it's not
Scorpios,
October
fun fact.
4th because that had already passed. But
I only know because she's a Scorpio. That's how I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, we both are, yeah. And
I can put
think
us all
someone
on
else,
the list. All right.
someone
that's
else
Florida,
in the community is
man.
a Scorpio too. I think Tater.
No, wait, Ray, are you being serious? You really didn't know that we
That
call
don't make no sense.
No,
Have you
he's
really
kidding
never heard
because
us
like
say Paka?
he only calls Paka by the name in chat. But I knew
Okay.
Paka at Paka's at midnight, so I always call her at Paka.
Yeah, so I was right about Tater. Tater is also a Scorpio, yeah.
God,
I
just
thought
for a
so.
second, I was like, how have you not heard us call her Paka?
Wait, Tater's a Scorpio too. Wait, Tater, when's your birthday?
Tater's birthday's coming up and
I really want to know. It's Scorpio's birthday time.
See, I wish I knew this stuff. 'Cause,
October
like,
27th.
Yeah,
Okay,
kinda
I'm
pass.
writing-
It
I'm
wouldn't
writing all
be
these
a
down.
Scorpio.
Everybody's birthday.
Everyone's getting doxxed.
What
Throw
is
your
everyone
birthdays in the
else's
chat.
sign?
Yeah,
So
throw
we-
your birthdays in the
Well,
chat.
you know mine. Do you know Melly's? Melly, what's your sign?
Wait, do we know yours?
Oh, I'm a Sagittarius.
His is the 17th of November.
Yeah, I'm 17th of November, yeah.
Wait,
Oh
how
my
do
See,
you
I,
know his
did, I
birthday?
didn't know that. I feel like you've said it, but I just like kind of like didn't realize.
Rory, we're
Oh, you just
exactly
had yours. Happy belated.
we're exactly a week apart.
We are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, you're right. So you're on the Sagittarius side of November.
Yeah, I'm on. I'm
Yeah.
I'm on the 24th.
Born on the 66th of June. All right, Beast. You keep trying to get people to believe. it.
Scorpios are great. We just get a bad rap, okay? Okay, yeah. No, I agree.
I'm literally writing down everybody's.
I don't like
Oh
my
my
sign because like
So I got-
I'm
I'm
a
now.
Pisces, and every time I think of like a fish thing, I always just think Magikarp, and then how it just like flops and like does nothing. I'm like, I didn't want to be a Pisces.
Paka, you're an Aries. I knew I liked you. I always get along. My best friend is an Aries. I always get along really well with
None
Aries.
of this actually matters. I hope all of you know this.
I'm an
I like-
Aquarius. I don't know
You're an
what that
Aquarius.
does.
I don't know what that does.
I'm
I like the
assuming that means if you
phraseology
got
of
in a
that,
fight with
yeah.
somebody who was a fire-based person, you would win.
What?
You know what?
Because
I
water
believe you.
puts out fire.
Yes, that's where I was going with that.
You're
Well,
just saying that
it
because
depends.
Pisces is water.
It depends because
You heretic.
if you were a hot enough fire, you could probably put out the water. So I guess it could go either way.
You could put out the water.
It's
Well,
not-
you could evaporate
myself
it.
out. Don't dare me.
You don't
Y'all-
put
y'all
out
know what I
water.
meant,
Yeah, yeah,
alright?
exactly.
You don't put out water.
Yeah, evaporate. Same
Evaporate.
shit. And you put it out, whatever. Alright. Alright, moving on. Alright, so Tony, I know this in the background. You have the red and is that a vinyl or is that just an album?
So that is actually part of a limited edition package that you can only pre-order for Red. You can't see it because I'm not zoomed in, but the CD booklet for Red is part of that.
Yeah, I
and
see
it's
it
signed
over
by
his
him.
shoulder. And then we see the Batman comic. What specific issue is that? Or
I
what
don't know. That is Batman. I can't read the number from here. But it is signed by Neil Adams, who was the late '60s, early '70s Batman artist who sort of brought Batman back to life after the Adam West show.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you had it in there because that was one of your favorite storylines, or because it was signed, or it held in a special place for So that can lead us into our first. What's going on? If one of you want to post the Joker one, the article in chat.
And
I
no
got it.
spoilers for Joker.
Yeah, no, this isn't about
chat.
Joker. It's just relating
Yeah.
to.
Oh,
Joker.
no. Yeah. This
Yeah.
will not feature any spoilers, and you will not feature any spoilers, chat.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I'd
watch
say
your-
I'd ban them if I saw them, but since I don't know what happens, I can't actually do
Oh,
that.
just like ban him on a hunch. You know what I mean?
So-
if you think it might be a spoiler,
Yeah.
gone.
So guys,
Bye-bye.
this is gonna sound kind of silly, but no jokes either about it, just in case. Because we're gonna go so fast with that, just so you guys know. But yeah, this is gonna be about the DC villains that deserve a Joker-like movie. So
Yes.
guys, that's the article. If you guys want to follow along, I'm also going to.
And then
Yeah.
we can also give our own impressions on what we think afterward. Alright, so working through the list, the first one on here is Sinestro. Alright, so unpopular opinion, I actually didn't think the Green Lantern movie made with Ryan Reynolds was that bad. I don't know why it gets such a bad rap. I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. But why everybody shits on that movie, I have no idea.
Because he looks like Flubber and there's too much in it.
That was a very concise interpretation of the problem.
Most things I hear about that movie was the pacing or the animation or something, but that was a very specific complaint you had with the movie.
Yeah, his suit being CG, and the CG not looking really finished. He looks like Flubber 100% of the time that he uses the ring, and then you try and fit in this is Hal Jordan training to be a Green Lantern, after you read about him being a dick, or see him being a dick, and then it's okay, now he's a Green Lantern. Now we have to turn Sinestro heel, and then we have to introduce Parallax, and then I can't remember the bald guy with the brain. We
Oh
gotta
yeah, I
introduce him
don't.
too.
I don't remember either, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Hammond something. I don't
Yeah,
know. There's
Dr.
too many
Hammond, I
things
think.
going on.
Dr. John
The-
Hammond, I'm pretty sure.
See, the thing about it is too, it came out in 2011.
Yeah,
So
it did come out a while
the
ago.
standard for superhero movies had gone way up by that point.
Yeah,
right?
because
Even-
I think the first Iron Man was when I was in 6th grade, and that was 2000.
That was 2008.
Yeah,
was
2008 something.
The, was the first Iron Man film with Robert
and
Downey
that
Jr.
movie was amazing.
Oh.
So that already lifted the whole superhero thing up.
Yeah, and there was also on the DC side that had,
The
and as
Nolan
much as I
trilogy.
don't think The Dark Knight is as good as Batman Begins, they had The Dark Knight by that point, and that
Yeah.
really set another precedent. Also, I just think that, and maybe Tony, you'll agree or disagree with this. I just think the Green Lantern, if you're gonna do it in a non-comic book sense, works much better as a TV series.
The animated one was amazing. We've had this conversation. The one
I
they
like
did
the anim-
back in the day,
but-
that was
And there's
great.
just so much stuff to go over. It's I feel like you need more time. Maybe
There's just some things I feel like that would be better as TV shows.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
true, yeah.
Tater just said it. I've felt this way a lot. And, DC has animations locked down and shows and animated movies, but actual big production studio movies, they can't do for shit.
Why do you think DC's been able to do animated films really well, though?
They've
Well,
been doing them for so long.
because
Yeah.
it's different. The thing about when they do their live action films, they contract out to these really like Zack Snyder doing movies. Zack Snyder's not he's a good director, but he's not a beloved director. Like the movies he does are very like some people love them and some people hate them. Like not everyone loved Sucker Punch, right? But like
Yeah.
some people did.
Zeus, I really agree with that, by the way. Arrowverse. And I was actually going to say, Tater, I also really agree with you because the DC movies lately have not impressed me. Wonder Woman I loved. But a lot of them I just wasn't really all that impressed about. But I liked the Marvel movies. But I didn't really like the Marvel shows all that much. But the animated TV shows for DC and the live action television shows, not the movies, but television shows for DC,
Yes.
are phenomenal. And I like those better than the Marvel ones.
All right,
Well-
so I got some spicy hot takes here.
Okay,
Fire away.
let's see.
Fire away.
So, the first big thing about like Green Lantern. Green Lantern has a really good animated movie.
Are you
First
talking about
fight-
Emerald Knights?
Not Emerald Knights, but there's like a Hal Jordan origin movie.
Oh, okay.
And like the framework for that would make a great live action movie because it doesn't try to do too much. It's just like Hal Jordan is a dick. He gets taken into space. He becomes the Green Lantern. Sinestro is like fake Hitler. He beats him up. The end. And it's like that's all the story that you need because you turn Sinestro heel in the movie and you make him a good antagonist and he doesn't die so you can use him later. And then Hal Jordan is like, okay, he's not my favorite Green Lantern, but he's passable for a protagonist.
I agree.
Do you prefer Jon Stewart or Guy Gardner, or a different version?
I prefer either Jon Stewart or Kyle Rayner
Okay.
because
But
I'm
isn't he a
comic nerd.
White Lantern after a while?
Rayner is mixed ethnicity, I believe. I think he's like half Spanish, actually.
Well, no, but he's one of the few like White Lanterns for like the
Oh,
extended.
you meant like
Yeah, no,
the
like,
ring
not like
colors.
white as in like
Yeah.
ethnicity. Yeah, no.
He's actually had a couple different rings. So was Hal, actually. I think everyone's had like 2 or 3 rings, but he was a White Lantern for a while.
Also, Tony, you have a fan in Tater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, you do. Yeah.
But another thing that I think the DC movies have a problem with is David S. Goyer writes a lot of them, and I think David S. Goyer is not a very good comic book writer, but he gets the benefit of the doubt because he's like third co-writer on Batman Begins and The Dark Knight with the Nolan brothers,
Yeah.
and I think he has a co-writing credit on the first 2 Blades, but he takes like lead writer on Blade Trinity, which is a crime against humanity that never actually happened.
He's also one of the main writers of Call of Duty, as I recall.
Oh, that's a
He
huge,
did
you
some of
know.
that.
They, I seem to remember like
Interesting.
his like writing credit list. If you just assume that he was like, and he wasn't like Tony says, he wasn't like first author on a lot of these things. But like, if you just take his list of stuff he's had involvement in, it's such a mixed bag of stuff.
But is it for
Uh,
like a specific thing of COD, or is it like a specific company's COD and like Treyarch?
So it looks like
or
he-
does it
he
span
wrote-
every single one.
He was a co-writer on Black Ops 2 was what I was
Wow.
thinking of, because I remember him having a credit for that.
I think
Um,
out of all their storylines for COD, I think Black Ops is the best one.
I've heard both from different people depending on what they. Well, like some people prefer like the original Modern Warfare, which now there's going to be another Modern Warfare. And
Yeah, it's all
Ugh.
out of whack, but yeah.
yeah, the numbering is really bad.
Post-modern warfare.
The yeah, those are yeah, that's a good point. Like I brought up the directing, but the writing is an equally or bigger part of the actual experience of the movie, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you look at David S. Goyer's credits, like, after Green Lantern, he's the guy that they pulled in with Snyder
Mm.
to make Man of Steel. And then they kind of, like, kick him to the curb, and they bring in another writer to make Ben Affleck happy, who helps David S. Goyer and Snyder with Batman v Superman, our greatest legal brief. And Justice League had, like, 19 writers on it because Warner Brothers interfered a lot. I think that's a big problem. Like, DC doesn't have anybody like holding the leash to keep everybody in check.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're more freely because like I think what makes it consistent throughout Marvel is that they had the Russo brothers do like every single movie from I think it was Civil War up until now or whatever. It might have been earlier, but
And then you have the oversight of Kevin Feige.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that helps a lot.
Yeah, like you have Feige, who you can tell cares about Marvel Comics, running the ship. Like even before the Russo brothers came in to do like every other movie that drops.
That's
But
right, yeah.
at WB, not until like Justice League did they bring in Jeff Johns as a comic person to try and helm everything. And so I think that's part of the problem too.
well, didn't they originally have Mark Guggenheim? Or because I know he does a lot for like the shows, but I know he was doing. Didn't he direct the Green Lantern movie? I know he was.
I'm not sure.
I think he
directed,
had
actually.
something to do with it. I just can't remember if he was the director or not.
Let me check.
I also don't know.
The director is Martin Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Guggenheim has a credit on the screenplay though.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Also, the Marvel is like really like I've complained about this before as a negative, but I'm going to use it here as a positive because it does have a lot of benefits. It's like Marvel has a real like unification of mood and feel across movies. Like there's a really like definitive Marvel sense of humor in the MCU that like permeates through all the movies.
Yes.
And that helps a lot with like when it's time to bring everybody into the same movie and stuff like that. Whereas like, you know, even with something like Justice League, where a number of the characters had not had their own movie prior, there was still like people coming from sort of like very, very disjointed backgrounds. And that can be a good thing, but it can also be a bit of a curse.
I feel like the DC movies are more like a serious tone, though. Like, I don't think they want their movies to be like as lighthearted, which I'm not understanding why. Because it
I can
definitely
see that,
works.
but also, I think they struggled with that with Justice League because they did bring in, wasn't it, Joss Whedon to kind of like lighten the tone? So it was almost like
Yeah, I
there,
think so.
there was a little bit of whiplash between like we want it to be dark and gritty, we want the DC flavor to these movies, but then I think you don't bring in Joss Whedon, an ex-Marvel,
Yeah.
director with also his unique like signature style of humor to come in and doctor the script up unless you suddenly want that humor in there.
And also, I don't think it's a good idea to bring in Joss with just Joss and like say like, hey, here's something that a bunch of other people are working on. Why don't you come in and work on it too? Like Joss has like he rolls with a team of people, right? Like
Yeah, you
like,
can't
there's
really
a lot
just
of
like
consistent
pluck
writers.
one person and expect them to get along and like work the same way with everybody else as they do. with
Yeah,
their own
exactly.
team.
Yeah. A lot of people worked on him for Buffy and Angel and Firefly, and it's like he's part of a team. It's Joss Whedon, but it's also Joss Whedon's people. So
Yeah,
like,
Joss Whedon and co. Like it's not.
yeah,
It's not
let
just
them
him.
all make a movie, and then we'll be fine.
All right, so what do you guys think about Sinestro like standalone film? I feel like he's not one of the more known enemies of like people in DC.
Among just like people, just like
Yeah,
the mainstream audience watching.
popularity and being known.
Yeah, for being well known, I mean, I would enjoy seeing a Lex Luthor one. That's one of the guys that's on the on the list.
Well, for
Um,
Lex, I feel like it might be kind of boring just because he's not like his whole thing for being a villain is like it's just like, oh, I have money and like I
Yeah,
want to
that's
go
like a
against
big thing with
everything
him.
Superman
Well,
stands for.
Lex's motivation for being a villain is that he thinks he can do Superman better. He's like a very petty man.
Yeah.
And so his motivation, like Lex Luthor has been a hero. He's been a member of the Justice League because he thinks he can be better. But in trying to be better, he does like awful shit.
He's actually He's actually a really good villain. If done correctly. Ari, I totally get what you're saying because I was one of the few people who didn't hate Suicide Squad altogether. I actually enjoyed my time watching it.
Do you know what?
I feel like I'm owed
about
2
Lex,
hours.
again, not to bring up Justice League again, but I think I liked the attempt at his characterization in
For
Justice
what?
League.
Who was it?
Jesse Eisenberg. I like this
You're
idea
thinking
of
of-
like
Lex.
Wasn't that Batman vs Superman though?
Yeah, that was Batman.
Oh,
v Superman.
Batman! Sorry, Batman
Yeah.
versus Superman. Like I like the
I mean, he was
attempt
also
at what they were.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was at
yeah,
the end.
yeah, he
I
was
think.
Yeah, because he was at the end. That was
shows up
more
at the
Lex
end.
Luthor.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Mm, yeah,
That
you're
was
right.
more Lex Luthor than he was in.
I did
Batman
like
versus
the
Superman.
idea of like of him kind of being like this tech guy with a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like kind of sort of almost like modernizing.
But
like,
at what point
the
does
idea-
that stop being Lex Luthor and more like a second
right.
rate Iron
So
Man?
I liked the attempt of what they were trying to do. I just think the execution of it was terrible. Like it was a good
Yeah.
idea. It was a good idea.
Yeah.
He was a bit too manic for me.
Yeah,
The-
I think
the-
it was part
the
of
way
it
he
was,
played him.
I feel
was the
like-
actor himself like embodied.
The-
He just like his energy just was not in alignment with
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Lex
thing with
Luthor that we
me,
know.
the thing with me, like throughout the entire movie, I just kept thinking this isn't really Lex Luthor. It felt more like they were trying to put almost like they were trying to put Joker and Lex Luthor together almost. I just felt like he was talking too much, and I always liked the thing with Lex Luthor is that he's like really cold, but he's charismatic and he's clever. But he's very like it's not blasé, but like I don't know, like for me Jesse Eisenberg he had a different personality brought to the character, I feel like. And then at the very end I thought it was super weird that he started freaking out.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sounded
he played
so
him
much
like
like
the Riddler. Yeah.
that sounded
Ta-
more like
Tater described
Riddler or
Lex
Joker.
perfectly. Because in every
Yeah.
iteration I've seen of Lex, like
Calculating,
Justice
yeah.
League, animated
Calculating,
show,
yes.
Young Justice, all those.
Also, Michael
always been,
Rosenbaum
like,
in
chill.
Smallville.
Michael Rosenbaum is my favorite one, actually.
He wasn't.
He
Yeah,
was
he never like really
next.
freaked out. He was a little more calm, cool, collected.
That's
and,
the
like,
thing,
did it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact
The
that
only
he
Sorry.
reason I've liked
playing
is
like someone
Smallville.
else was, like,
Smallville is badass.
I love
But
Smallville.
the best Lex Luthor is from Superman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited.
Yes.
Bring back Black Lex Luthor.
I think one of my favorite lines still from one of the cartoons was when, if I remember right, it was Lex Luthor was trying to switch like bodies or some. I can't remember what it was. Switch
when
bodies
he
or-
discovers his identity, he's like, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, so he switches bodies with he's trying to switch
Flash.
bodies with
Yeah.
somebody. It was somebody different. Like it was probably supposed to be Superman. He's like, oh well, at least with this opportunity, I get to figure out what the identity of the Flash is. And he takes the mask off and he just goes, I have no idea who this is.
It says Bane is the next one on
Yes.
the list, which is interesting because it starts with in the first sentence it says there have only been 2 feature films that highlighted one of Batman's other big rivals, Bane. 2 is a lot
Yeah,
in terms of the proportion of actual feature films made about these,
especially for
the-
like DC ones, because like not many of them, like out of all these movies that DC's made, that yes, there's been a lot of like Batman ones, but they all primarily weren't Batman ones.
I agree with all the suggestions about Scarecrow and Poison Ivy in particular.
Well, that's the thing I feel with Bane. Like I don't know why he's on this list, because he's more of a like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's more like one of those like just common street thugs who moved up to being like the head honcho guy.
So Bane's backstory in the comics,
Hi, Beans.
in his original storyline, Nightfall, he's like a prisoner. He's born into prison to serve his
Santa
mother's
Prisca,
sentence.
right? Or-
Santa Prisca.
yeah.
Also, Zeus has a very good point. He said it would be better to have a non-Batman villain movie done next.
Yes.
Oh,
A
definitely.
couple of these definitely are Batman.
It's a good point. I agree.
Clayface. Oh my gosh, I forgot about Clayface.
So Bane breaks out of prison, and he decides he wants to come to Gotham because the smartest man on Earth essentially is Batman in the DC universe, and he wants to outsmart Batman. He figures out that he's Bruce Wayne. He figures out that Bruce is wearing down. He's getting older, and so he concocts the plan to try and humiliate Batman. So he blows up Blackgate Prison, blows up Arkham Asylum, forces Batman to run the gauntlet through all of his previous villains, even C and D listers. And then when Batman is completely exhausted, he breaks his back in the Batcave. After that, Bane really hasn't been used very well, but he's extremely smart. He's very strong, but he also hasn't really featured in the comics well for 20 years.
We can also touch on the misuse of Bane, because I feel like
Jesus.
Tom Hardy's use.
Margot Robbie worked hard in that movie, though. She learned how to do gymnastics
I
to
feel
be
like
Harley Quinn for that movie.
Tom
So
Hardy
props to Margot
wasn't
Robbie.
the most accurate version of Bane, because I feel like he wasn't using Venom.
Hi, AJ.
Oh,
yeah, hey,
yeah.
AJ,
Well,
how's it
that's
going?
like-
Hey, AJ, what's up?
Well, I think that's
Yeah,
just
you have
me being
Christopher
more
Nolan.
nitpicky than like.
Well, Nolan had this like commitment to realism, and his thought was that it wouldn't be realistic if you had this guy like basically taking like super steroids directly into his spinal column. So they gave him the mask, but it didn't really do anything.
Yeah, except make his voice sound like weird.
Made his voice sound like this.
Yes.
To be honest, the biggest tragedy about that movie to me is that now Tom Hardy has already played a DC villain. I don't know if he'll play another, and I've always wanted him to play Lex. Actually, that's been like a fan cast of mine for
And
a
now
really
he's
long
Venom.
time.
Yeah, now he's Venom.
Yeah, now
he
he's
a
switched.
Marvel.
He switched companies completely. He was like, I'm out. Like I'm going to. I'm getting my own 3-picture deal at Sony.
I really like. So Tony, you said earlier about you described Lex's character, and like I thought that he showed some of that. Did anybody else see Nemesis? Star Trek? Anybody else here is a big Star Trek fan?
I've not seen a single Star
Haven't
Trek.
seen it.
No.
Well,
I've seen it in
not
like
me.
10 years.
In Nemesis, he plays a character who's a lot like another character in the movie, but kind of like the second place version of that character. And like he showcased a lot of like jealousy and pettiness, and that's exactly what we want to see in an actual characterization of Lex.
It's not John Cena trinsic.
Not seen it.
It's Randy Orton.
Okay, but yeah, another.
But why is still a valid question.
Another point is, yeah, I feel like when most people hear Bane, they think of the famous scene of him breaking Batman's back, and I feel like that
Yeah.
wasn't really done justice in the Nolan one because, like Tony
Well, it
said,
gets better in
he-
like a
he-
half hour.
He ran the gauntlet, and that's why he was able to do it. But in this one, it was really just him versus Bane, and he was able to break his back that way as well. The next one is actually not a Batman villain. Well, depending on continuity, because he could have been a Batman villain in Flashpoint. But the next person we have on this list is Eobard Thawne, and if you guys watch the Flash TV show, that's the main villain for most of the seasons.
Mhm.
I think this would be a great pick for a standalone movie. So currently, this is the only one I agree with so far.
Hmm.
Because Reverse Flash is essentially everything about the Flash, but the opposite. He started off as a major fan, and then discovered he was supposed to be his like arch nemesis. At some point in time, I believe he kills Iris West, and then Barry kills him. So like in a twisted way, it's kind of like the Joker relationship with the Flash and Reverse Flash, where he's trying to get him to do things that he won't do, but then he eventually doesn't, because I guess Barry it doesn't have the same mental strength as Batman. But yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what they could do with Eobard Thawne for.
So my thing with someone like Reverse Flash is that he is literally defined by having the Flash alongside him.
Yes.
So it would ultimately still be a Flash movie because Thawne by himself still needs someone to go against.
That is true, because like everything he does to get to that point is because of the Flash.
Yeah, so some of them would have to depend. It would more be like an origin story, I guess.
It could be like leading up to the point where he got the speed, but like other than that, I don't think people are really interested in seeing that as opposed to like seeing the reverse action or Reverse Flash action.
Yeah, I mean, like a way that you could kind of get around that is if you framed your superhero movie. Have you guys ever seen Heat by Michael Mann?
yeah. I have that on DVD actually.
So if you framed like a Thawne movie
Mm.
like it's Heat, and so you have De Niro and Pacino, like that kind of split where Heat is like two movies filmed simultaneously running alongside each other where they swap scenes, you could do that with the Flash and Thawne
Oh,
and build
okay,
up to their
yeah.
confrontation. I think that's like the only way to have like a half Thawne movie is sort of give him a spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I like that suggestion quite a bit, actually.
Also, more movies should be like Heat.
Yes, yeah, true story.
I've never
yeah.
seen it, so I don't know what to expect.
I'll
And-
share with you a brief story about Heat. When Michael Mann was setting Heat up, it was at like 2 hours and 53 minutes, and the studios were upset because they couldn't sell TV rights because it wouldn't fit a TV block correctly. So they asked him if he could cut it by 40 minutes, and instead he asked them, "What if I gave you 40 more minutes?"
It was
No,
on
Vandals.
Netflix, not sure if it still is. Someone check Freedom Netflix and see if Heat is on it.
Yeah, I can do it. Also, the next one is Vandal Savage, and I feel like that one definitely, like, more so than Eobard Thawne. That's probably a lot of.
That could be better done for a standalone because
Yeah.
you have so much backstory with him because he is
There's so much
essentially
you could do.
the only living Neanderthal.
Did you guys say it was
Okay.
called The Heat? Like The Heat?
It's called Heat. Just Heat.
Just Heat. Okay.
I actually
There's
don't know
The
a lot
Heat,
about
A
Vandal
Kitchen
Savage.
Revolution.
Oh
I-
no,
I
that
don't
sounds good as well, but very different.
Yeah. So
Does not look like it's on here anymore.
Oh damn.
Vandal Savage is essentially just like a caveman who touched this. It was a radioactive comet, I believe. And then they gave him the ability to like. It kind of unlocked his like brain potential because he was able to think differently than other Neanderthals, so it made him smarter, and then it gave him like immortality. And he's lived
also-
the entire ages of like, so he's in different contexts. He's been Genghis Khan. He's been like the right hand of like Hitler.
That's
and
pretty.
stuff.
See,
yeah,
to
so
me,
there's a
that
lot of
sounds-
history there.
That sounds cinematic to me.
He's also extremely difficult to kill. So
Yes.
it's like, what does like I actually like they even said it on here. It's like, what does he decide to spend, or what does a man do when he can't die? How does he decide to spend his days? Like
So that's a lot of interesting like potential there
Yeah.
in the story.
for sure. Like whether it be an origin story or just a full-on villain movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot that they could use there. Vandal Savage also, guys, which is funny because they actually talk about it in here, but he was also on the CW's Legends of Tomorrow. He was one of the villains in 1 or 2 of the seasons. That
it
was
for
actually
the
a pretty good
first
season.
season, and then he
Was that the first season?
He had,
I couldn't remember or not.
well, technically, he was first a villain on the Flash and Arrow, but that was like a one-off for the
Right,
crossover.
that's why I felt like it was.
And then he got his own
Yeah.
spot on Legends of Tomorrow, and then
It-
he's had cameos from then on.
Yeah, he like. There's a lot you can do with Vandal Savage, so that one I definitely agree
So
with.
ironically enough, Vandal Savage was the only one I didn't know anything about on this list, and that's the one I'm going to vote for.
You're right.
Like based on just like that 30
I
seconds.
feel like that's because of the history aspect, because I know you and Morgan both are interested in vast history.
Yeah, he's actually also in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Yes.
And I think the first season of Justice League, they accidentally get sent back to World War II, and he's there making like super weapons. I think for the Nazis.
Yes,
or
that is-
the like
that is
definitely
it.
not Nazis.
Mm.
And then he's in another episode where like Superman gets blasted into the far future, and he helps send him back in time.
Because
And he actually talks about like how upset he was after killing the Justice League.
Yeah, he ended up killing everybody, and he was like, it's been so lonely here. And he's like, that was my biggest regret. And then he tells Superman how to stop him from the past, or in the past.
So our next one is one that probably more people are gonna know.
Yes.
Darkseid.
Darkseid is probably the Thanos of DC. If I'm being
Yeah, that's kind of why this would be kind of lower on my list.
yeah.
Um,
Because they
Yeah.
teed up Darkseid for Justice League. Because originally I thought Darkseid was gonna be the boss, or not boss, but the enemy.
you know, you've been playing a lot of
He was-
video games.
Yeah.
when
He
you
was
call them.
alluded to. Yeah, he was alluded to. The boss. Yeah.
Because I saw the Omega symbol, and I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be Darkseid. But it was really his like stepfather or whatever, Steppenwolf, and I was like, I have no idea who this is. And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, okay. He's
Oh, that
related
great
to
villain
Darkseid.
Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
So the original plan for like the whole Snyderverse Justice League thing going out was to have Darkseid come in for the second movie. They actually shot stuff for Justice League that got cut when it was re-edited that had like carvings of Darkseid at Themyscira that Wonder Woman could see and be like, oh, he's the guy with the mother box and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a younger Darkseid in the battle in the past, but all this stuff like got washed out in the edit. So they mentioned in the article that he will probably wind up being in the New Gods movie.
Yes, that is
I'd
true.
be
Which is
excited
good.
for that because New Gods isn't something that gets a lot of recognition. Like most people know of it, but only from like the bits and pieces they've implemented in like the Justice League show and like other various like iterations they've done.
Personally, I think the New Gods work better as guest characters. I think some of their like regular lore is kind of boring. But definitely, like, we deserve to have like a really good Darkseid villain movie. Maybe something like Final Crisis almost.
Yeah. Do you know the origin of why New Gods is DC?
Yeah, because Kirby left Marvel.
Yes.
And
his goal or his plan was to kill off all the Thor characters and then replace them with New Gods. And then Marvel was like, no way in hell. So then he took his idea to DC, and they're like, sure, why not?
We'll let you do whatever you want. So he does New Gods, he does Kamandi, and I think he does OMAC for DC. Also, famously, they let Kirby draw Superman, but had Kurt Swan, the regular Superman artist, go over the faces. And then Kirby left and went back to Marvel for a bit. Then he went back on his own.
Yes.
Before we get into the next article, I actually have a question for Tony. I've talked to him a bit about this in the past, and I think it would be interesting to talk about. Tony's one of the few guests we can actually talk about this with. Not only do you play the occasional competitive card game, but you also play fighting games.
Yes, I do.
Which I feel like a lot of people, at least in my experience, I also play fighting games. As you know, I'm a Tekken player. A lot of people really, really, really don't like fighting games. So tell us like a little bit about your history with fighting games. Like, what games got you started, and like what games are you continuing to enjoy like now?
So, my story with fighting games starts in like 1994, 1995. My dad actually got me into fighting games in the arcade with X-Men Children of the Atom. So we would go to a mall in Texas, in San Antonio, where they had a Coda machine, and he would be like, oh, I'll put some quarters in for you. And I would play Wolverine, and then he would play other people. And that was it. In my hometown in Texas, by 95, they had Marvel superheroes. So I played a lot of Marvel superheroes, as Spider-Man. And then we played like the entire Capcom Versus series up until Marvel 2, like as it came out. And that's sort of like what blossomed me into fighting games. Then I played like Alpha 3 or Street Fighter Alpha 3, a little bit of Third Strike in the arcades, Tekken Tag, I want to say Tekken 3, Soul Calibur 2, that type of stuff. And then at home I would play like Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. And then by the time the PS3 came out, I played a lot of Ultra Street Fighter 4. I actually bought it for my PS3 and on Steam, and like as the iterations came out, I upgraded both at the same time. So I bought that game like 8 times. I love Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 5 killed all of my love for Capcom fighting games.
Yep.
I feel like
And that game makes me throw up when I think about it. Marvel Infinite looks like a cell phone game, but it has very good gameplay. It deserved to die. Fighters is beautiful and amazing, and I am bad at it because I'm not very good at anime fighters.
Sure.
So now when I play fighting games, I own an imported Sega Saturn from Japan, and I have like arcade perfect conversions of the games for that I sometimes bring with me to like friends' homes.
Damn.
Oh, cool.
Blade knows.
Wow.
That's how you know you're like a real like fighting game like player when you have like
Yeah, really.
Oh, you
Damn.
could go ahead and tell the story about what was it? You had to they had to beat you one time and you had to beat them 50 times?
Yeah, well, that was X-Men: Children of the Atom. So there is a thing for the PC called Fightcade that lets you play some of the classic fighting games with netcode. So there are quite a few times that I would go like 50-0 on people. One of these occasions, as you can see Blade freaking out, Blade got one of those. He knows when you play as Cyclops in X-Men: Children of the Atom, he has a move similar to the Shoryuken called Gene Splice. Except if you keep hitting the punch button while they're in the air, it does 3 hits, and then he shoots an optic blast up in the air that pops them up. And I carried him across the entire screen with the Gene Splice, and as he hit the wall of the stage, I did another one before he could hit the ground, and he screamed, "I'm done," and left.
No.
So it's the same input as a Shoryuken?
Yes.
Okay,
it's Shoryuken input, and then whatever punch button you use, you just press that again.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's
So-
dumb. And he's not even... I main Wolverine in that because he's broken. He's the best character. He low profiles everything because he's very short, and then he crouches on top of that. So most beams just go right over his head. There's this guy named Aizen that we used to play with who was saying some very rude things about me. So I told him, we'll go first to 50, and then I 50-0'd him, like, on stream for my friends.
Oh, wow. The so people that don't know
Savage.
fighting games, like the traditional thing you do is like a first to 10. So like first to 50 is a long set. The yeah, that's
Power
crazy.
move.
So I definitely agree. I like that story. It's very different than my own because I started with Tekken 3. And that wasn't so much in the arcades as it was on the PS1. But like my experience with Street Fighter is pretty limited, but I definitely like Street Fighter 4 was definitely amazing. It had lots of great moments at like Evo and stuff like that. It was a really fun game to watch, and it was cool to see how much people enjoyed it. Street Fighter 5 is an absolute train wreck. It's such a tragedy. I don't know if I like anything about it.
Didn't they also release Street Fighter 5 twice? Or wasn't there like some sort of...
Arcade, like the arcade edition, right? Like it's the PC game or it's a game on whatever console, but it's called the arcade edition. If that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, the arcade edition was just like a free update. And if you bought the physical version, I think it gave you all the characters in the first season pass for free.
I just remember
okay,
here,
yeah.
like I'm not into Street Fighter. Like as most of you know, I only play the NetherRealms games, which a lot of people who are like really into like fighting games don't like. But yeah,
Don't
so
worry,
I
Beast,
hear
you don't have to
about
feel
some stuff.
younger than me. Yeah.
Oh, and I do play Guilty Gear, even though I'm bad at it.
Everybody's
and I
bad
will be
at
playing the
Guilty
new
Gear.
Guilty Gear when it comes out.
Yeah, me
because
too,
Guilty
but
Gear
no
is
one's
the
good at that
metal
game, right?
alive.
That's literally impossible. Like it's so hard. Like
That'd be
so
like
people don't know like
trying to be good at sticks, right?
yeah, exactly. Like fighting games, like they like each fighting game generally like there are categories of fighting games, but generally most of them are different game to game. But there are the anime fighters, which is what Dragon Ball Fighters draws its ancestry from. Like it's not a full on anime fighter because it's not quite as hard. But things like BlazBlue, Guilty Gear, and Unist are all anime fighters, and they all share certain mechanics. One in particular called air dashing, which makes the gameplay very different. They're extremely hard. The mechanics of the games are intentionally designed to be difficult, like by the game designers' admissions. Like they designed them to be really hard.
Yeah, and I'm an old man with old man hands, so I can only play fighting games as slowly as possible.
And for those people who don't know, also like fighting game players like will use different types of controller based on what kind of players they are and what they like. Are you a gamepad guy or fight stick or?
So I own a stick for the Xbox 360 that connects to my PC.
Sure.
But I almost exclusively use any controller that is shaped like the Sega Saturn pad.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mad
interesting.
Catz
That's what
used
you're
to make
used to?
them. It's just like my favorite form. You have all 6 buttons right there, and I like the way the D-pad feels on those, where you can just roll with it.
Yes.
So Mad Catz made wireless ones when Street Fighter 4 came out, and I bought one of those, and it broke after I spiked it like a football during a celebration.
Okay.
So then I bought a wired one that was a little bit smaller, and then that one eventually wore out. And I think I'm on like my third or fourth one, which is like there was a PlayStation 3 wrestling game, WWE All Stars or something. They made one for that, so I have like The Rock and John Cena on mine now. But I like almost exclusively use these. I also have a Hori Fighting Commander.
I was just about to say you probably have one of those. Yeah. And do you like that like quite all right? Some people really seem to.
I wish the D-pad had a bit more give to it. Like it's kind of stiff, but I do like it.
Okay, yeah. There's actually, for those people who don't follow fighting games, but there are a few in here who do, because a bunch of Tony's friends are in here. Like controllers are actually a controversial subject in the fighting game community. There's actually a good video about it. I think it's called "The Controllers Used to Win Evo," and it's by Core A Gaming, who makes really good like sort of bite-sized fighting game content. And like some controllers are considered like cheap, like because they're too effective at certain types of motions. So like they're like kind of like quote unquote frowned upon. It's amazing how like developed the fighting game culture is around stuff like that. Like there is a cohesive, like almost political set of opinions people have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember like people getting mad because there was a Street Fighter 4 player who would like day 2 Evo but not top, that would only play Geef on like the regular default PS3 pad so he could spin the DualShock for the throws. It was hilarious.
I like old school joystick controller. Like joystick, you mean like fight stick, right? You don't mean like a flying joystick like you'd use for like Elite Dangerous or something, I hope. Yeah, there was the Hitbox is like a really controversial controller in fighting games because it makes like, so in Tekken there's like certain moves that require you to hit forward 3 times really quickly. And that's like kind of strenuous on a fight stick, right? Because you actually have to move like your hand 3 times forward really quickly, and it's like kind of hard. But on a hitbox, like forward is just like a button you press, so it's like super easy just to hit that 3 times. Like you can almost do it with one hand. You can just like lay your fingers on it like that, almost. But they've not yet been banned or anything. I think people just keep using them.
Yeah, I think like some events will ban them. I know like Capcom bans certain hitboxes because they allow like rollover inputs.
Yes.
But I haven't seen it banned from Tekken yet. I know Smash, which is not a real fighting game for those of you watching. Just gonna throw that out there. A lot of people in Smash would get upset about hitboxes because that's where the hitbox started.
Yes, that's true. Oh, also, I do want to clarify. Smash is it takes a lot of skill to play Smash. It's a very interesting and worthwhile game, and I enjoy playing it myself. What Tony's saying is it belongs in a different genre. Like, it's a very different kind of fighting game than the other fighting games.
It's a party game, boys.
Very controversial opinion we have here.
So, Tony, you went to New York Comic Con.
I
How
did.
was that? What did you like? What didn't you like? What was your favorite thing?
So I was at New York Comic Con for Thursday last week. My favorite thing about going to New York, anytime I go to New York, is traffic. I love tunnels. I love bridges. I love when it takes 2 hours to go somewhere that's actually like 30 minutes away.
Because you're
I
not,
was just in New
you're
York
not
City.
supposed
I
to
was-
drive in New York City. If you drive in New York City, you did that to yourself, and you deserve that.
Look, my guy, it was like 4 times that to take the Long Island Railroad on off-peak into Manhattan. So screw that.
I think it's
me and my
easier to
dad weren't
take the
gonna do
subway,
that.
if I'm being honest.
Well, we were coming from the island, so we'd have to take the LIRR. And Blade can tell you the LIRR is a joke. I think it has a derailment at least once a week. Jesus, put some money into infrastructure, New York. Please, do me a favor.
The last time I was in New York, they were like putting in fiber for like Google Fiber, so like they were shutting down all like the streets, and I was like, great. So now it's going to be even more condensed because they can only use certain streets.
How about
Yeah,
they put
so-
the goddamn Google Fiber up in London? Help me out.
It was fun getting in and out of the island. But we were staying on Long Island,
That's
where
true,
my dad is
Tater.
from. going into Manhattan for the event. I have been to New York Comic Con once before, back in 2016. So I was kind of like my dad's guide. Like, this is what the show floor is like. Look at the Dragon Ball World Tour. Gaze at the majesty and the pageantry. Take pictures of me standing next to Goku while this lady tells me I can't touch him. This is the Yu-Gi-Oh booth. Maybe you'll become a man today and play cards with me for the first time in your life. This is Neil Adams, famous Batman artist. He is an ass and no one likes him, so that's why he had to pay to be up here instead of being down in Artist Alley with all the cool kids. And so we walked around the show floor for about 45 minutes to an hour. Then I was like, all right, cool. It's time for me to have all of my fun. And we went down to Artist Alley. There is an ocean of people. You can only go so far at a time. But went down there. I met some pencilers, writers, inkers, letterers, like you name it. If someone has done something important in comics, or even if they're just trying to make their way, you can find them down in Artist Alley. So I met Tony S. Daniel, who does a lot of Batman pencils, especially recently with Tom King. I got him to sign my copy of Batman Rest in Peace from a couple years ago. He did the pencils on that Grant Morrison wrote. I met Hack, the guy who does the art for the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina comics, which do not come out anymore. But he was really cool. I got that done for a friend of mine. And so I'm walking around meeting some people. Alex Saviak, who did the art for the Spider-Man newspaper strips from like 97 to like 2010 when they stopped doing those. And as we're walking around, I go to East Coast Comic Con, which is in Secaucus, New Jersey, every year. So Rick Parker, who used to do the lettering for Amazing Spider-Man in the 80s and 90s, is like a guest there every year. So he knows me, Blade, and another friend of ours, like, on site. I did not know he was going to be at New York Comic Con, and so he saw me and was like, "Hey, come on over." So now my dad thinks I'm like a known like minor guy in the comic book world. But Rick was like, "Hey, I'm making money right now, so if you want to come back later, I want to talk to you about something." So yeah, sure. Walk around. Met one of the artists for Silk, which was like a Spider-Man spinoff a couple years ago. She was really cool. Howard Mackey, who used to write Spider-Man in the 90s and early 2000s. We got to talk about Scarlet Spider, who was a Peter Parker clone.
Yes.
Who was
Ben
poor.
Reilly.
So his Ben Reilly, who wears a red bodysuit and a hoodie, and that's his costume. He is the best, and he should be protected at all costs.
That was the Spider-Man suit I used the most in the
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
That's
game.
the one I unlocked
I just
first.
love that one.
I love that one.
yeah.
Too,
Yeah.
as well.
Met Eric Larson, who did pencils on Amazing Spider-Man for a bit, and then he wrote a Sinister Six storyline in just adjectiveless Spider-Man. So we got to talk about the comic industry for a bit. He holds his pencils like, let me see if I can like. He holds his pencil like this when he writes, like completely like parallel to the page, and like boom, boom, boom. He was also one of the only guys doing signings for free. So he was really nice. So we got to talk for like 5 or 10 minutes. I waved at Steve Orlando, who is famous for Midnight and Apollo, but he was also a Supergirl writer for a bit. I've met him like 3 or 4 times, so I didn't really have anything left for him to sign. Andy Kubert, who is a big penciler for both Marvel and DC. He did a lot of famous like X-Men covers in the 90s. And he's also done a lot of Batman stuff recently. So one of the things I was doing is the most recent version of Batman 50 was where Batman and Catwoman were supposed to get married, and a whole bunch of guest artists have 1 page each in the book. So I got a whole bunch of people to sign just their 1 page. So that was like a fun little scavenger hunt for me. And
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's
a
really
little bit of
cool.
money. So was running around doing that. And then eventually stopped, had lunch, and then looped back to Rick, who was like, "Hey, I can't, do art for you, but I need you to make me a promise, and I want you to bring me a script at East Coast. get to work. I believe in you. And so we talked for like 20 minutes. Rick Parker is an amazing guy. So if you ever have like anything he's done from the 90s, even if it's like garbage, and you see him at a convention, like talk to him. He's really cool. And like he'll probably offer you a lot of encouragement in whatever you want to do. After we were done with that, went back upstairs, did the whole Dragon Ball World Tour, which was like a scavenger hunt where you had to go to stations and like, what is the name of the new Dragon Ball game? Here, have a sticker. So at the end of that, we got posters and all kinds of cool stuff. The only issue was I wanted these huge bags that they had with Goku and Vegeta doing like the Gallic Gun and Kamehameha together from the Broly movie, but they ran out. So my dad is upset now because he wants a bag because he's tired of carrying things. Like he has a foam shark fin on his head. He's holding like a wing Karibo in his arms, and he just like wants a bag to put it all in. So we run into the vendors area. And I'm like, if we go to Funko, I can get us a bag. I will buy one Funko Pop just so we get the bag. And the line was like 2 hours long. So I said no. I'd rather not. So eventually, we found out that Geico was giving out bags, and I was like, fine, whatever, I'll advertise for Geico. And they're like, hey, would you like to sign it for Geico today? I was like, I already have it, just give me a bag. And the guy was like, okay, whatever, here, have your bag. I was like, cool, I'm not doing your escape room thing either, I'm running away. Square Enix had a booth for the Avengers game, the ugly one.
Oh, the Ted Cruz one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
they had
Actually, I was gonna say, by the way, about this game, I guess they reworked them a little bit. They still kind of
they
look
still
the
look
same.
ugly.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed
definitely
to
still-
have
She just
like
still look like Ted Cruz.
She still looks like Ted Cruz, though.
That's all we care about.
they're
Tony Stark.
they're
Tony
adding a
Stark
bunch of like
and
customization from like different aspects of like timelines of comics and stuff, which I thought was really cool, and I was like, they should definitely do that. So like,
So Tony Stark and Thor got a bit of a rework. It's definitely not too much of a difference. I thought it was really cool though because one of the characters that they introduced though was Kamala Khan.
oh
and
right,
I really
forgot
liked
about
that. Yeah, that I'm really excited about playing this Marvel. So
But, they had a big area where you could go play the game, but you couldn't film or record anything. It was like, whatever, guys. But they also had a huge Captain America statue. So I got a picture of it, but the whole booth was kind of lame. It's like, whatever. I really don't care about this. Walked around a bit. I think I went back down to the Artist Alley to say hi to a few more people, and then dipped back up to the main floor because Evil Ink Comics had a booth. They don't put out too much. It's kind of basically at this point, it's like a vanity imprint for Claudio Sanchez, the guitarist and singer for Coheed and Cambria. So he was going to be there doing a signing, and that's like my favorite band since I was a lot younger. So I had stuff to sign. I bought stuff at the booth. So I got to meet him and talk to him for like about 10 minutes because he was like, hey, yeah, how are you doing? I was like, have you been down to Artist Alley? And he got sad because I told him about all the stuff that was going down. And he was like, no, I'm up here for the next couple hours. Maybe I'll go tomorrow. I was like,
Oh,
keep a smile on your face, Claudio. Please sign my stuff. Take a picture. Bye. See you later. Had a little bit of money left, so I got back to the Dragon Ball booth. They had exclusive con merch. So I got a model kit for Super Saiyan Gogeta from the Broly movie, and I got an Ultimate Gohan Fig Arts figure that has like anime accurate coloring. And that was New York Comic Con.
Damn. Sounds like
that sounds awesome
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Oh, and as we were leaving, we didn't like do anything with it, but they had the car from the El Camino movie out there because they were advertising for Breaking Bad.
Ah.
Like Netflix had a whole thing like outside, but it was raining and I
that
didn't want
comes
to get
out
wet.
soon. That's like 2 days, I think. So something we should have touched on, and we kind of got off topic, but because of New York Comic Con, we're kind of back on topic. Everybody in here, I know Tater was listening to a bunch of people who he thought wouldn't be great for a standalone movie, but everybody in here should go around and just name one villain. It doesn't have to be from DC, but it can be like Marvel or whatever. Just name one villain that you think would be great for a standalone movie, and maybe reason.
Hmm.
So Tony, since I know you're very knowledgeable on that, you can lean. And if you want, you can do like one from Marvel and one from DC.
Doctor Octopus. You could do the whole Superior Spider-Man style thing. So a couple years ago, a big thing in the Amazing Spider-Man comics was Doctor Octopus swapped brains with Peter Parker.
Yes.
So his mind was in Peter's body, and he had a whole journey where he had to like try and be a hero to prove he was better than Spider-Man. So I think like a villain movie like that could work.
When they switched, wasn't he in like some sort of like dying state or something? And
Yeah, he was like 2 hours from dying.
Yeah.
But because it's comics, everybody got better a couple years later. And I guess like DC, like I think Lex Luthor would be the character I would want to see as a solo person.
Based on any particular like storyline or just like in general?
I think just in general, Lex Luthor, when you see him in popular media, like when you see Lex in films, if you put aside like Jesse Eisenberg, because he's kind of doing his own thing, you have Kevin Spacey pretend to be Gene Hackman, and then you have Gene Hackman doing his own thing, and that's sort of like the popular image of Lex. But I think if you do a Lex that's more grounded in terms of like the comics or the Justice League show, where he is the second smartest guy on Earth after Batman, but he believes himself to be the smartest, and you see him trying to work to make the world better. Like there's a line in an issue of Action Comics where it might be an All-Star, where his people are like, we found the cure for cancer, and Lex is like, okay, but can you make it something they have to take every month? Like, why cure them once when I can cure them for their entire life, month at a time? Like, that kind of Lex. And you can use Superman almost as, like, an antagonist in the movie, where you'll see Superman at the end, like, I've always got my eye on you, Lex. And, you know, Lex just being upset.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I like Lex as a pick. I'm going to say either Scarecrow or Zaz, because what I really want is for, like, I like the idea of DC being, like, a little more lighthearted, maybe, than they sometimes are, but I also like the idea of them just going completely dark and doing, like, a horror or thriller film, because I love those. And I think either of those characters would make a really good horror or thriller.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, Morgan, do you have anyone in mind?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I am really excited for whatever it is going to be with Harley Quinn. But
Birds of Prey.
too.
Yeah, but I know that's not like more like a how she became a villain.
Yeah, that's more of a
That's something
team
that-
up one, I think.
Yeah, that's something I would be excited to see. Just because with Harley Quinn, she started out as a psychiatrist, just going about her day, and then she just happened to get a job at Arkham, and I would really like to see like the downfall of her. I think it would be very interesting to me.
There's actually a very good comic that DC's putting out right now called Harleen. That's on their Black Label, so it's like more mature. That's basically what you just described.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because she's Dr. Harleen Quinzel or Quinzel. I never really knew how to actually pronounce that, but and I've always thought that would be a really cool movie just to see that. Not really sure who else, to be quite honest. I just have to I'd have to like think a little bit more about it. But for now, like my pick is definitely Harley Quinn.
All right, and then Melissa?
See, I think for like DC villain, I would probably, I mean, I think I agree with Roy. I think I'd like Scarecrow, just because like I like the whole, I don't like the whole idea of a psychological kind of side of it. I really did like his story in Arkham Knight. I thought that would be cool to see like cinematically. I'm trying to think of like a Marvel one.
Paste Pot Pete.
You what?
He's a villain.
I don't know who that is.
He was in the Frightful Four, and then he was a Spider-Man
Oh.
bad guy. He basically shoots glue from his fingers.
What?
Yeah, he's Paste Pot Pete.
Sounds like a
I've
real
never
like
heard of
D-list like villain.
It's still not as bad as like the porcupine guy in X-Men 3.
Oh
just,
yeah, I
like,
know who you're
Be
talking about.
like
Yeah.
2 centimeters away from somebody to actually hurt them.
Yeah, to actually kill
Like-
them, you have to be like this close.
Yeah,
But, like that sounds so much like the one dude in My Hero Academia who shoots the tape from his elbows.
Yeah. But
Oh, you
yeah,
know what?
there's a whole
Actually-
bunch of like D-list Marvel guys to bring out.
You know what I'm gonna say? Actually, I'm gonna say I really like the Court of Owls storyline, so I'm gonna say like Court of Owls is like a villain.
That could be interesting because that's
that
kind of
was
like behind the
yeah.
scenes. Like we control the like census and like we
Mhm.
manipulate events, sort of deal.
Yeah.
For mine, it would be Deathstroke or Ra's al Ghul, just because I feel like there's a lot of backstory in there. Because with Deathstroke, you can
Oh
do
yeah,
like
those are good choices.
I love both of those options.
Deathstroke has got his own family stuff. You can do like him trying to find his son. You can do like some Titan storyline, and then Ra's al Ghul. You can do like the origins of how you became Ra's.
I actually am
how it led up
really
to
interested in
meeting-
that.
You can do the
Okay.
near apocalypse of 09.
Don't you mean
Yeah.
how he became Liam Neeson?
How he became.
They should bring back Manu Bennett to do Deathstroke.
Yes.
I honestly thought in the Arrowverse he actually did a
He
really
was.
nice
I
job
really
of that.
like him.
There's a good Deathstroke. If you have DC Universe for the Titan show, they're in the second season. They have a good Deathstroke on there right now. Actually,
Ooh, I
Yes.
haven't seen that.
I
I'm
saw
like
the
halfway
trailer
through the
and I was
first
like-
season.
I might watch
Um,
this because of Deathstroke.
I had to stop watching that because I got crazy busy, but I got to get back into that show.
One of my favorite things too is that in the Teen Titans TV show, it's so funny because there are some people that didn't realize that Deathstroke
Was Slade, yeah.
is supposed to be Slade.
Who is Slade?
And they're like, oh, well, that, but they have a different name. I thought it was just somebody that maybe looked like him. It was like, no, that's
his
Deathstroke.
name is Slade Wilson, guys. Like,
Yeah, the reason why they did Slade is because they
Deathstroke
didn't
was
want.
too like aggressive for
Yeah, they
a
didn't
children
want-
show.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was that they didn't want the word death being said so many times in like per episode that he would be in because everybody, like Robin is like Slade, but like that would be him, like all of them saying like, oh, Deathstroke did this. We got to catch Deathstroke and he's up to something so that's literally the reason why they had him named Slade in that, not Deathstroke.
Also, nice Demon. That's an awesome one. Manu Bennett's actually a badass. He was actually pretty good in Spartacus too. If anybody watched that, I've heard Spartacus described as either 300 on steroids or Game of Thrones for dumb people, depending upon which description you prefer. But there is a lot
I
of
don't know. I don't know if either of those things are for me.
Yeah, but where's the lie?
Tater, they brought back Young Justice for season 3, unless you've watched
Yeah, they
all
did.
of them.
Yeah,
I think they've
I
renewed it
mean-
for a fourth season too. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. We don't have
that
the
was such a
DC
great
service
show.
in Canada. We bring that to Canada, please. Now, I want to give you
Yeah,
my
there's
money,
the
and you're not
season
letting me
3,
give you my
Taylor.
money. Like
All
ridiculous.
19 people watching right now, tweet at Warner Brothers.
Yes.
Give DC Universe to Canada.
It's Young Justice Outsiders, just so you know.
It's
That's the third
much
season.
more adult too, because it's no longer having to conform with the
Cartoon
regulations
Network.
for like Cartoon Network and being on there, so it can be more. I think they show blood and gore, which is like something they couldn't previously do, and like super
broke-
super
guys, we-
in depth detail and stuff.
We broke
Tater.
Tater.
Taters.
Yeah, like
I think it's more like
broadcast
we broke
standards.
him and then we fixed him all at the same time.
Now he has
Tater
purpose.
turned into a YouTube URL. This is crazy.
Yeah, broadcast standards is crazy for these shows. There is a book that I've been reading to read called "Previously on X-Men" about like the broadcast standards restrictions on X-Men and what they could and couldn't do. Famously, like on Fox Kids, Spider-Man wasn't allowed to punch people.
What? Would it just
Yeah,
like
so-
show the animation and then like cut to like one of those cheesy like pow or like wham.
No, he just-
and then, like
He just never throws a punch in the entire series. Like he kicks people, but he doesn't
okay, but
punch
kicking
people.
is okay, but punching isn't.
Kicking is okay, but the kids can't be punching each other in the
I feel,
street.
I
They're
feel like
violent.
I feel
Power
like
Rangers,
violence is
no.
violence.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, kids can't emulate that. Like, people who don't know how to fight can't kick. They'll fall down. Like, so you don't have to worry about kicking. It's fine. Speaking about broadcast standards, actually, I've told Trev and Morgan this before, and maybe Melly. In
Beast
Canada, Beast Wars wasn't called Beast Wars. It was called Beasties. Because you couldn't have war in the title of a children's television show.
Interesting.
Like that was like that got like super confusing when I started finding out, like seeing all these references online to Beast Wars, and I was like, "What is that?"
I feel like my parents would have sat me down and had a conversation with me if I asked them to buy me some Beasties toys.
Yeah, really.
So you're not really old enough for that, and if you wear a fursuit in the house, I'm kicking you out.
Yeah, I feel like there's a long conversation that's really no, it's not what you think. It's like that's okay. No, we need to talk about this like once.
I just want Optimus Primal. Come on, Mom, understand me.
Okay, can someone post the PS5 article into the chat?
Yep, I'm on it.
So for most of you here, I think most of us here have. I'm not sure if Tony does, but I know us four have a PS4.
Oh, I have a PS4, definitely.
Okay, yeah, all right. So then, yeah, I'm assuming everybody, and I know most people in chat do probably, except for Tater, because
Tater's.
or no, not Tater, Trinsic. But yeah, they recently announced well, I don't know if it was announced or if it got leaked, but they had some images
announced,
on-
I
It
believe.
was announced.
Yeah.
It was announced.
It was
okay.
announced. They announced that it's going to be coming out in time for holiday 2020.
Yes.
Now, guys, any of the renders that you see of the system are still just like fan renders. Nobody still knows what the actual system looks like except for like Sony.
Yeah.
So any of the things that you see
no
on
matter what
there-
you see saying leak, it's not.
Yeah.
It may not be a leak. Take
Yeah.
it with a grain
Yeah,
of salt.
The original
All-
PS3 controller leak looked like a boomerang, if you remember that. Like, people were
Oh
like, oh,
my
this is what the
God. I do
controller is going to
remember
look
that.
like. And it didn't look anything remotely like that because it was ridiculous.
But yeah, so any of the stuff that you do see yet, it's still not confirmed as to what the system looks like, what the controller is going to be like. But we do know that the release date for it is supposed to be in time for holiday 2020.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
What do we think that means? That means assuming November, December, or do we think it's
Uh,
earlier?
November is the
Um,
usual PlayStation release date. The
November.
PS4 and PS3 have both come out in November.
Oh, okay.
November is a really good time because it's not right before. It's not like in December where it's like that's really holiday crunch.
Yeah.
Because that also means that it's like in time for people if they just want to get the system for themselves, for example, they still have time to be able to get it before it really becomes like holiday time.
Yeah, and plus I imagine for stock, it's got to make it easier. Like there might be you might actually be able to get a hold of one like
Yes.
for Christmas, whereas it might be tricky.
Before everyone starts like, doing
Yeah.
shit last minute, like we need all these. But we can go through and talk about what they've upgraded from the last one. It looks like here it says that they're using SSDs for the standard instead of hard drives, which is a great
They
upgrade.
are.
Yeah.
SSDs at this point.
I feel like that should just be standard for most things now.
Yeah,
'cause-
I'm not dealing with hard drive load times.
Yeah.
Sorry. Bye. Yeah.
Now, the only downside to all of these that's going to be like such a fast and like high-tech system.
Would probably be the price. I'm assuming.
It is, from what I've heard, it could possibly be like more than $800 for just the system. Which
More
Yeah.
than 8.
isn't,
More
that's
than
what
eight.
yeah, that
I
is.
want to say
And that
6,
doesn't count the
like-
4K TV you're gonna have to buy in order to get the maximum
Pretty much.
quality out of it.
That's a bit of an oof.
I
Just
feel
ask
like
yourself.
600
oof.
should be the max for like. Because if you think about it, the PS4 when it came out was what, like $400, and then the PS3 was also around like
Yeah, but like the
300 or something.
PS4 is like slower than Christmas. Like it's like it doesn't, it can't load anything. Like the like it's yeah, I like I'm with you. Like I think the cost, like the price point might be a bit high, but I also wonder like, man, it's got to be like I feel like a bit of like my like kind of like PC gaming snobbery
We're done
coming
with
out.
comics and fighting games,
like-
Ari. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I feel like
So,
But I-
Ari,
It's safe. It's safe to come out, Ari.
here, Ari, I will post the article again. We're talking about stuff about the PlayStation 5 right now, since it's gotten announced that it will be out by holiday 2020. Nothing on like we have a bit of the specs. Nothing on what the system or the controller look and
Looks
feel like. Yet.
yeah.
Mm.
So I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will warn you when we get to the second or third hour of the podcast. When we begin my story on how I would bring Stiltman back to life in the Marvel universe. But we'll put up a warning for that.
I came out of my den.
So how long do you think before Xbox announces their next system? Because
They
it's
already
not-
have.
Oh, have
technically.
they?
Oh yeah.
I didn't see much traction for it. If they did,
What did they call it? It was something.
Project Scarlet.
Project
Scarlet. I knew it was
Fuck.
like something
who
like
comes up with these
Scorpio.
names? Whoever comes up with these project names at Xbox or at Microsoft needs to be fired.
Is Xbox still trying? Xbox is resigning, but gracefully. Like Xbox is focusing like more on the connection to PC now, which I think is like a smart way to move forward. Like,
Which is why they're releasing Halo on PC.
Yes.
Project Scarlet also is set to arrive by holiday 2020.
Okay.
it's definitely
They're-
Project Scarlet is definitely not as a name striking fear into the heart of the competing companies. Like,
Yeah, but it's like they announced it at E3 and then it just kind of
They did.
fizzled.
Yeah.
Fizzled
They
out.
didn't
Like
When I
nobody
saw
was like hyped about it. Or
No one
talking
was
about
hyped.
it.
Everybody who was hyped for Xbox this gen was like, "Oh, severely disappointed because they had nothing to play with the same 3 people who own Xboxes."
Well,
me and
to be
Tater,
honest-
me and Tater are going to be playing all Halo. Tater is right.
Well, to
I'm
be
excited.
honest, when it came to Project Scorpio a couple of years ago, a lot of people thought that it was going to be the next gen and that it was just early that they had been announcing it and they were talking all about the specs and stuff, and then they were just like Xbox One. I had so many people come into my store when they were pre-ordering that system that they were like, "Okay, so what games are exclusive to the Xbox One X?" I'm like, "None." They're like, "What do you mean? It's next gen console." I'm like, "It's not a next gen console. It's just a beefed up Xbox One S. That's all it
like
is."
the PlayStation Pro. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I said, no, there are games that are Xbox One and X enhanced, but that does not mean, like, you can play every game for the Xbox One and Xbox 360, or, well, whatever backwards
Right, I get
compatible ones
that.
there are for 360 and Xbox One. You can play all those games on the Xbox One X, and they're like, oh my god. I had so many people that really thought this was going to be the next gen console, and I was like, no, I am so sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Beast. Yeah, imagine if battleships were named by Microsoft. The Dreadnought would be the Scarlet. It's like
Dreadnought.
you know.
it doesn't have that same like factor. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just hope that they come up with a more interesting name, because honestly, like, the thing with Sony is that they are consistent. That is a good thing about them. It's just PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4,
And
PlayStation
PlayStation
5.
Yeah.
Now,
I-
like,
they're not trying to
No,
get
go ahead.
fancy with fucking.
no, far away. The
Well, with Xbox,
Scorpio
it's just
and
been
Scarlet
Xbox,
and-
Xbox 360,
yeah.
Xbox One, Xbox. I mean, I
Rise
guess
of the dawn of the justice of Xbox.
Yeah.
you can call
like
it.
I guess like at least like for me, I guess like at least they've gotten a teeny bit creative with some of the things. Like it wasn't just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were at least like Xbox. I mean, because the first one was PlayStation, obviously, but like
yeah.
Xbox 360, Xbox One. I mean, and then Xbox One S, One X, but whatever. But
They could
I'm
have stuck with like the degree gimmick and been like 360, 720, 1080, and then like 1440, and like, but
Like,
no,
I-
they were like, oh, let's make.
I like the
sense.
idea that they're constantly a few generations behind the standard for resolution.
Yes.
Mhm.
Would the
but I
1080 be
mean-
shaped like a snowboard though?
One can only hope.
But if they could just have like a more snappy name, you know, because that's at least something that Nintendo has been creative about, I guess. I mean, because there was the Nintendo Entertainment System. I mean, they did go with Super Entertainment System, the Nintendo 64, the Nintendo GameCube, the Nintendo Game Boy. I mean, Game Boy Advanced, Nintendo DS, 3DS. They had the Wii, the Wii U, and the Nintendo Switch. Like that's a lot of different things that we have here versus like numbers and a lot of different names, which I always thought was pretty interesting. One of the things that was a little bit disappointing, even though I never thought I was gonna get myself an Xbox One X, but they were calling it Project Scorpio, which is at least kind of cool sounding, you know.
Mhm.
So
It reminds me a little bit too much of like astrology signs, but like.
mhm. But like at least if it could be like the Xbox Scarlet, I know for sure people would just refer to that as the Scarlet, which would be more interesting than just like Xbox.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah,
something.
yeah. Just having a name, having named consoles is actually a good idea.
Yeah.
The Xbox
No,
just kind of
Taylor.
like. Now, I don't want to hate on the Xbox because like I have nothing against like the Xbox or the people that play it, but I think the Xbox as a concept confuses me because. It's like with a PlayStation, I understand like it has a lot of it has like the exclusives that everybody talks about, the God of War, Spider-Man, all this.
Yes.
But like one of the things that really stands out for me about the PlayStation is how many Japanese games, especially JRPGs, are only made for PlayStation.
Mhm.
Like there's a very specific. It makes sense to me the market of people that might be very interested in the PlayStation. The PC has like its own thing, which is like a different thing economically, and like the PC ecosystem is very different altogether. I don't know who the Xbox is made for exactly. Like I'm a little confused as to like who would I recommend, like who do you know who you would recommend like buy the Xbox? Like what do they want? You know what I mean?
They want. I'd recommend the Xbox for somebody who needs to balance something and like they need to put it underneath and like have it raised or something. For no
Okay.
reason than other like actually using it.
So the Xbox story is that I was up modding for somebody on Twitch at like 4 to 5 in the morning, and I had a dude message me who hadn't talked to me in literally years.
Oh, I
and
remember this story.
Is this a Drake song?
Who hadn't talked to me for literally years and years, and was just saying some really like he was just like, hey, what's up, what's going on, what you doing? And I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm modding for this person. He's like, what have you been, so you play video games, what do you play? And I said something about, you know, Friday the 13th, I play that. He's like, oh, we should totally play together. And I was like, yeah, you know, like maybe on like I have PlayStation Plus if you want to play one time. And he was like, oh, we'll see, I'm on Xbox and I have an Xbox. He goes, I was like, oh yeah, I have an Xbox too. I don't have that game on Xbox. I don't have Xbox Live though, so I wouldn't really be able to play online games. He's like, well, we should still play on Xbox, and I'm like, I don't have Xbox Live. I can't. And like again, this is in the middle of January, at 4 in the morning. And he was like, well, why don't you just come over and play Xbox? Come over to my house. Come over to my house. Play Xbox. Like, he really wanted me to go to his house, guys.
At
Really
4
And I've
a.m.
listened to podcasts
at
about
4:30 a.m. Like, it was probably like, it was really getting bad, probably around 5 a.m. And he just, I'll never forget it because he just goes, oh, Trinsic, you have no idea. He literally actually did say, we can just chill and play some Xbox.
Jesus.
Disgusting.
And he was like,
No. We
These-
can drink
these-
some Natty Ice and listen to some Dave Matthews.
These are the
chill.
type of people I expect to show up in Ash's chat just so I can ban them.
Really though, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
just-
that guy needs to be banned.
just chill and play
Yeah.
some Xbox. And he told me, he was like, I can show you how good Xbox is. And I just said, I have an Xbox. I know. It
So
worked.
gross.
So then they're like,
Um,
can you though? It's like, I own one. I was like, I'm still waiting.
Like, I have one. I know. You don't have to show me. We're good. He also told me that he could buy us breakfast. And I was like, wait, is
No,
Melanie?
he's saying
Melissa, you're
something and
muted.
no one knows what
Oh,
he's saying.
sorry. I was gonna say, Morgan, I don't think he was talking about an Xbox.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my god. I had no idea.
The,
Oh.
also, Trinsic, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that.
Honestly, I forgot you said you wanted to go get a haircut that day. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, what? He did.
Doesn't he just look so handsome?
Oh.
Well, because with like with dudes, unless like you just like go and like shave your head like I did, like you don't really tell.
But yeah, so that's this is the part where he invites her over to the house and it's all empty and shit. There's not even a house. Yeah. It was a very odd situation. But yeah, it was very interesting. You know, just chill out and play some Xbox.
I mean, he was probably just surprised because he knows, like everyone does, like girls don't play video games, so you can't ask them about them or turn to them for advice. They don't play games. Like, what? I don't even know what they do. Play with these big ovens or something.
That reminds me of that story Morgan had at whatchamacallit, where the guy came in and was like, "Oh, I want to talk about like." As it was like Sony and Nintendo, and then like they're like, "No, I want to talk to."
In the store at the
It's
time.
like, "No, I want to
this
talk to
happened.
that guy or whatever." I was like, "What?" That's
Hey,
like,
guys, so I was at work one day. I work at a game store, and this guy came in and wanted to know about something. It was like PlayStation Plus, and then he wanted to know about something. Was it Tony? Was it Skyrim on the Switch or something like that? Maybe.
Yeah, it was Skyrim on the
Yeah.
Switch.
And so he came in, was asking me at first, and then Tony like. He was hanging out because he was gonna go see a movie later or something. So he was just hanging out in our store, like just talking. You know, he does that a lot, so he'll just come in and talk to us. And he offhand was just like, "Oh yeah, I've played a bit of that game." He goes right to him, and he wasn't working or anything. He didn't work at the store at the time. And I was just trying to segue in, like, you know, I was the worker. I'm like, I better help this guy, you know, so he's not. I mean, he wasn't bugging Tony by any means, but like. So he's not like bugging a customer, you know, about questions and stuff. It's like, I'm the worker, I can help. And he looks at me and he was with his wife, girlfriend, whatever she was. And he just goes, "Listen, he is a man, you're a girl, and he's gonna know more about this stuff." And his wife was like mortified. She was like, "Oh my God."
super
I can't-
cringe. Like,
She was like, "I cannot believe you just said that to her." I looked at this guy. And I just went, "I have every single system that we own in here, sir, including a gaming PC. I do all sorts of gaming. You have no idea." And he was just like, "Oh." And so then he tried to he asked I asked him, I'm like, "What do you need help with?" He was talking about like PlayStation Plus and Nintendo stuff, and I'm like, "This is high on like my list of what I can do. Like this is what I know." And it was just a very weird thing for somebody.
You just want to know how much PlayStation Plus was for like a month or something.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like the only thing he got right during that whole conversation is that, like, technically, yes, I am a man, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Well, it's weird when stuff like that happens. This isn't related to gaming exactly, but Caroline needed to buy a new pair of glasses once. So I went with her to the glasses like store. Like she drove, I was just the passenger. I was just like along for the ride to the glasses store or whatever. And she'd ask me my opinion on glasses. And when we were there was an employee who like he said, "Oh, like we don't have any of this in stock or whatever," but there's another store that would. And she was just talking to him. I was saying nothing. I was like standing slightly behind her. And then he was like, "Let me give you the directions." And he turned to look at me and started talking to me about the direction for some reason and totally ignored the fact that Caroline was there. The actual customer, I, A, was not driving. And like B, am not very good at taking directions. Just being like, "Oh yeah, take a left on this road." Like I was so confused, and Caroline was pissed, and I kind of don't blame her, to be honest. It's like this is a man. Like I'm sure he has like the spatial awareness to handle these streets. Like,
like all they had to do was give you an address, and you just plug it in your phone. Like you get there. Like, that's not.
Yeah, it's 2019. I don't need a big burly man to drag me across the Oregon Trail just so we can both die of dysentery.
The people at Micro Center thought I didn't know what parts I ordered for my PC when they presented me the wrong ones. Oh my God, really?
Paco, do you think they like were trying to rip you off and like give you something that was less value of what that you ordered, and so then they can be like, "Oh yeah, sure," and then did they give you intel? I'm assuming that's where this is going. They're going Intel.
Either that or like Nvidia. She might be talking about an AMD graphics.
And they put an
Oh
Intel.
no, it's
CPU.
Intel.
Oh,
Yeah,
alright,
CPU.
well,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
That's so. This isn't like
they must have been watching The
massively-
Verge build PCs, guys.
Oh my god, that video kills me. Oh, I still have nightmares about that.
Yo, I watched that video after I built mine, and I was like, they did not do this right at all.
He didn't get any. The anti-static bracelet he puts on
Was
wasn't
like a Live
it wasn't
Strong
grounded.
bracelet.
Yeah, it wasn't like it didn't have a cord, and he wasn't like attached to anything. It was just a bracelet. He's like, "This is very important. You put on the anti-static bracelet." I'm like, "No."
And like he didn't even have a screwdriver. He had like a Swiss Army knife, and I was like,
He had a
what?
Swiss Army knife which had a Phillips head screwdriver in it, and he was like, "It's important to have a Swiss Army knife, and hopefully it has a Phillips head screwdriver."
I was like, what do you mean? Hopefully, I was like, why don't you just have a screwdriver?
Yeah, you build
Look,
PCs.
if you don't have the
the-
screwdriver, you just use the knife end. Okay,
Was
that's how
this
men do
like?
it in the wild.
And this totally was not a joke, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
no, it
that
was,
was
like, a
their
totally serious
video,
video.
for like teaching
It was
people how to
like-
build PCs.
It was more like how to build PCs at your campfire site.
Yeah,
like
it
it was
wasn't-
like with your campfire equipment.
It's like how to
there was
build in the wild, and it's like no one's gonna be building a PC out in the wild.
what Paka said reminded me of this for some reason about like computer troubles. This is unrelated, but I've never mentioned it on a podcast. But Trev and Morgan know this very well. What happened to me was I moved from Newfoundland to Ontario, and to make that move, I got my PC shipped in like 3 different boxes or something. And they kind of like it was supposed to get there like one day, and it got there a day early, which means I wasn't there to receive it, which means I had to go to like the shipping place to actually pick it up formally. So I went there, and the guy was like, "Okay, like I'll need your ID." So I hand him my driver's license, and I'm from Newfoundland. It's a Newfoundland driver's license, not an Ontario driver's license, and it has my Newfoundland address because I'm moving. And he takes the driver's license and he looks at it, and and then he looks back up at me and says these exact words: "What is this? I can't read." And I was like,
I would have been like, excuse me?
"That's a driver's license." And then he looked at it, and he looked at the address on it, and he was like, "But this address here is different than the address that you're getting it shipped to." Which I don't know how he could tell. If he
Yeah,
couldn't
like
read.
if he can't
Thought
read,
it-
how did he know that was the same address?
Maybe it's
Oh,
like
he knew
us
the
when we look
numbers
at a
were different.
picture. Yeah. So he knew, like he looked at it and he was like, "Okay, this is so long and this is shorter, so therefore they're different." He was like, "Yeah, it's like the addresses are different." I'm like, "Of course they're different. I'm moving. Like that's like it's like this is UPS. Don't you guys deal with this like literally every day, all
Do
day?"
you not just regularly ship out your PC once a week, like to a random place, and then go and pick it up so you can go back home?
Yeah, exactly.
really,
yeah.
like, that's-
What?
Most
What did-
people
what did
do
that person
It's all
think
fun
you
and
were
games,
doing?
You know?
I was so confused, and then he was like, "That's gonna be a problem." It's like,
I'm like,
why? Like,
so you not knowing how to read isn't a problem, but me trying to pick this up with a different address on my license is going to be a problem.
yeah, exactly. So he like eventually agreed to give me my computer, which when he gave it to me, he gave me like 2 boxes, or no, he gave me 3, and there was 4. I was like, "There are 4 boxes," and he was like, "No. You see here, it has the number 3 on it. There are 3 of them." I'm like, "I know I'm looking at 3 boxes. That's not like that's not the problem."
I would have been
understand.
sitting there like, I'm the one who can read, all right?
Like, and what it happened was is somehow like UPS got them split up, and so the 4th one ended up, which had the actual computer in it, shipped the next day. Oh, that was wild. I'm reliving the stress right now. Like,
I would have been so upset. Like, I don't think I would have been able to keep my composure in that. Like, I would have been like going off. Like, I don't understand how you can be here and not know how to read.
Common sense.
What the fuck? That person had none.
I would have been full Karen mode.
I would have like Z snapped and been like, no.
Oh no, Ari. Hey, I do that.
How hard were you playing on their hair? And then there's like, pow.
Wait, did you slam your hand in rage because of that story, or did you just accidentally like?
I've accidentally hit my glasses off my face before. That's cool.
I've done that too.
I've never done that. Mainly because
I accidentally hit your glasses off your face twice, Morgan.
You did, yeah.
How?
How? Yeah. How close were you? That
It's cause our height difference. When we go in for a hug, it just boops her glasses right off her face.
Yeah, like I was trying to pull away, and then her hair like got caught like on the back of my glasses and just started pulling my glasses off. I'm like, okay, I guess they're yours now.
No, Tater. I've done that to myself. Was what I'm saying.
Melissa's knocked off Morgan's glasses.
Yep. Can't
It's how I said hello and it's how I said goodbye.
Yep.
When I was a kid, my school, which is like a weird school, Morgan and Trev know a bit about it. We had lockers for our shoes when you switched from your outside shoes to your inside shoes, and it wasn't until I went to like a public high school that I realized that that concept is absurd.
Yes.
Hey, so the
Are
Japanese
you an
do that
anime
also.
character?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Japanese do that actually, and like
I only
my
know
locker
that
for my
because of,
shoes was really high up.
Tokyo
And one
Drift,
day,
actually. They do that.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, that's right.
One day I opened up my shoes locker,
Wow,
which was like
Bucky.
more than I was, and the shoes flew out and broke my glasses, and it was the most embarrassing moment of my entire existence. And I still think about that, and that was like,
Sitting
that
there
was like
if we ever
13
have a
years ago.
reunion, people are gonna bring that up immediately.
You thought that too, Tater? I think any anime fan would just think, "Oh, they do that in Japan."
Yeah, because every time you go in your shoe locker, someone either leaves you trading cards or a note. It's very important. Plot.
Oh, on Valentine's Day, girls will leave chocolates in there.
I feel like that would melt.
Ooh.
Well,
I
you
like-
have to
I
get
like how-
chocolates to know whether they melt or not, so you don't have to worry about that.
We
Or
always
just make
We always just
cookies.
start doing Fast and Furious quotes. Just reference.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like the tuna here.
A death threat or a love letter. There is no in between.
So something else I wanted to bring up about the PS5 is that supposedly there's rumors. I saw this guy. He does like lore videos for Souls games. His handle is like Vati Video or something. But
I watch his videos.
Yeah.
Bloodborne.
His voice
Yeah.
is great. But he tweeted this article earlier that was like saying there might be a remake of Demon Souls happening for the PS5.
Later on, Tater. Oh, please remake Demon
Yes,
Soul.
and that was my whole thing. I was like,
Good night,
yes,
Tater.
that'd be great.
Good night, Tater.
Because that's one of the games I actually didn't get to play. Because it was on PS3, and at the time when that game came out, I was like 10 or something, and I didn't want to be playing some game that I was gonna like throw my controller and like break it.
Well, I mean, we're at the point now where you'll probably get HD remasters of like PlayStation 3 era games, so you'd be up for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Remaster all the Metal Gear Solid games, please. Put the Legacy Collection on PS5. Thank you. Thank you, Konami, for doing something. I know you're not going to do it, what with the doing something and all that it would take.
So Bluepoint is a studio or something, or Bluepoint is just like a
Yeah, I know
company that
Bluepoint.
does,
They do
Remakes.
ports, right? And
Oh,
like
okay,
remakes
yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah, they did a famous one. Here, hold on.
Bluepoint did the Legacy Collection port, but Kojima also worked with them to make sure they did it right.
They did, but didn't they do something recently that was like quite a Shadow of the Colossus? It was Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus was inside.
And they used the that visual technique that they use in Spider-Man that Insomniac uses. They don't use the same one because Insomniac's tech is proprietary. Hold on.
But yeah, the list on here is saying that obviously they're gonna get remasters for PS5. That's just gonna happen because it happened so much for the PS4. And you wouldn't remaster PS4 games for the PS5 unless it was like coming out at the end of the life cycle for PS4. But they're listing all these games that potentially could be the target for remasters on PS5, which are Demon Souls, which I would greatly appreciate because that's the whole game that started this whole Soulsborne genre, and like I honestly feel like the Soulsborne category gets a lot of different people who you wouldn't think were like Soulsborne people into it.
Definitely, yeah. It's
And
more wide audience
affects
than you think it would be.
So many games now, because it's had such an impact on like gaming, that like even now Code Vein is not even a FromSoft game, but it's their shot at like an RPG Souls like game. And then Neo was kind of a Souls like game. And then there's like, of course, The Surge and Lords of the Fallen. So many things have come up because of Soulsborne that like I feel like it'd be a good idea to remaster Demon Souls.
Trev,
yeah.
I was just going to ask you, since you like DMC, this was shooting off of what Demon Outlaw said. Since you like DMC and other like character action games, did you ever play God Hand on the PS2?
No, I've heard of God Hand because someone said Code Vein was a lot like, or no, that was God Eater actually. Never mind.
God Eater, yeah.
Yes, Code Vein is a bit like God Eater actually. But yeah, God Hand was like a character action game on the like PS2. And Demon Outlaw suggested they do it, and I think that would be a good idea, a great remaster actually of like an old school game. But carry on with what you were saying, sorry.
The next one on this list that they think has a high chance of getting remastered for PS5 is something that you and I believe Tony would be excited about, is the first Metal Gear Solid.
Yes, definitely. I want that on every console, to be honest. I think that's still even though it's the first one. There goes Tony.
We lost.
no.
He was so excited that he went out and he's gonna
just
he's
went,
actually
"Oh, here
working
we go."
right now on developing the PS5 port for Metal Gear Solid 1.
Oh, he's
Congratulate Tony on his new job.
Well, this is awkward now because like I think there is a
Tony, we'll be
formula
back in a second.
for the camera placements because now that we're back on 4, now Morgan's in the bottom left, Melissa's in the top left, and Rory's in the top right. So now Rory is Morgan,
I'm
and now
Octopus.
Melissa's
I'm Sugar.
Octopus.
I'm
and
Sugar fucking Melly.
Oh my god.
The only
I'm
person
Morgan.
who's the same as me.
I do love Bepsia Morgan though. That is accurate.
I love Sugar Melly.
Oh my god.
Silent Hill is something I've never played. Wasn't the Silent Hill series a like scary game? Isn't that the
Yes.
one with like the child on the swing and like the snow or something?
I know the effect you're thinking about. It's got this like snowing, foggy effect.
Yes.
That was, I think, the original. It's really good for the atmosphere of the game, but I think the original purpose of that was because they couldn't do a really high draw distance. So their
Oh.
fix was to obscure all the stuff that they would have to draw with draw distance, which I think is like, really clever.
That's a workaround, yeah, and it works
Uh.
really well if you do it correctly.
Yeah, and I think honestly that was from an era when like, because of course back in those days you couldn't patch your game after releasing it, like
Yes.
on the PS1, like just whatever.
Yeah, PS1
however,
and 2, it was like whatever was on that disc was
Yeah,
what you
and-
got.
patches are honestly a curse in so many ways
Yes.
to like single player video
Can't
games.
tell you how many times I've loaded up. I'm like, all right, I can't wait to play this, and oh, here's a patch. I was like, it's gonna take 45 minutes. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah, I remember playing Resistance 3. That was one of the big things I was super excited
Here
to
we go.
play,
Oh,
and then
okay.
it was
Welcome back.
you know, it ended up being like a massive. I think it was like a day one patch. The
Welcome back, Tony.
Hey Tony,
hear you,
you're
though.
Yeah,
saying
Tony,
something,
you're-
but I
you're
don't know
muted.
what it is.
Oh, I muted my microphone because I'm smart.
Oh,
I'd like to give a big shout out at Spectrum. Thank you for the wonderful internet service. Thank you for being a friend.
Don't
Yeah,
even
but-
talk to Rory about internet services.
Yep.
Oh, what has he been having trouble?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Also, guys, I think now, like, I don't really know. Do you guys think that maybe we might get like another, I don't know, Elder Scrolls Skyrim on the PS5? Or
No, if they
like,
remake
Resident Evil
Skyrim for the
4
PS5, I will
on the
literally
PS5?
boycott that campaign. They've remastered that game way too many times.
I am
Resident
not
Evil 4 also.
Todd. Don't even think about it. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not
Skyrim's gonna be a
having.
launch title, and you'll have to live with
I am
that.
not having goddamn
somebody clip
Skyrim again
this.
before Elder Scrolls 6.
And then we can
You
tweet
hear
it
that,
at
Todd Howard?
Yeah.
None of us will
None.
buy the PlayStation 5 if you stick it on there.
I
Oh,
just won't
God.
buy the game, but I'll get a PlayStation 5 on the mark.
But I totally think what I was gonna say before Tony vanished. It was that I think MGS1 is still a really playable game as like a stealth game, and I think the mechanics are still very agreeable for new players now. The controls may be a little rocky because like square to shoot, or more accurately, releasing square to shoot is maybe not the most intuitive way
yeah.
of firing your gun. But you don't fire your gun a lot in Metal Gear Solid, so that's all right.
Now,
Oh,
would
yeah,
it be
Ari-
a remaster or a remake?
Well,
Yeah.
you could also like go off of the Twin Snakes remake for the GameCube. Like that plays a lot like Metal Gear Solid 2, so that would be
Yes.
easier to get people on.
It that's true. I mean, in my heart, like I like Twin Snakes, but like it is a very different game, especially in terms of the cinematic. And I will like there'll be some part of me like crying about that and wanting the original Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Ari, the reason why I was just making a joke about it because Skyrim in particular and then Resident Evil 4 have been remastered on a
Way
bunch of
too many
different systems
times.
and on PC so many
yeah.
times.
Exactly, but they are doing a Test 6 set in probably the border of High Rock and Hammerfell.
Yes, that's originally it was supposed to be in Black Marsh, or that's where everyone thought it was going to be, and then
Black
they were
Marsh
like,
was the
"Nah."
original one, and now it looks like based on the little teaser they released, that's probably High Rock or Hammer.
Listen to these nerds, right?
Okay, the next one on the list after Silent Hill was SOCOM 2, which I feel like we don't really need more FPS games because I feel like everyone's either phased out of COD or they're all into like Battle Royale, but even that's being phased out now. Yeah, so I don't think this one's very likely because I don't think I know a lot of SOCOM fans anyway.
Yeah, that's a really I mean, those games are interesting and they're part of like history and especially like PS1 history, but that's a really
That's a really far
interesting
stretch
choice.
for-
Yeah.
And then the one after that is Ico, which I feel like is more likely because they did Shadow of the Colossus already.
Ico got a remaster on PS3 though already.
Oh,
It did.
okay.
That's true. With the
It
Shadow of the
did, but
Colossus
Shadow of
remaster, you
Colossus,
could buy
though.
both of them actually. in a
Yeah,
collection.
because I was gonna say Shadow of
then
the Colossus was also on there, so
that might
they
be
could-
easier for them to remaster because they've already had to do some remastering for the
Yeah.
PS3.
Mhm.
And then the last one on this list is Siphon Filter, which I have no idea what this is.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
remember
heard of
Siphon
this.
Filter back in the PS1 days. Hell yeah, Tony probably does too.
Yeah, it's a poor man's Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, that's a throw. See, the tricky thing about remastering games is, so people might wonder, like, why is the PS4 not backwards compatible for PS3? And I wonder that too. Well, I don't wonder it. I'm bothered by it. But one of the things is, like, the PS3 has a really precise architecture. And it's one of the things that made it really difficult to develop games for. Like, part of that, what determines success for a game console is how easy is it for developers to actually make games for that console. And PS3 games have proven really difficult to bring into the modern era. There's been some success with PS3 emulation. For instance, people have really successfully emulated the Persona 5 that's on the PS3. The emulated versions of that actually look really good. On the other hand, people have not even been able to kind of emulate Metal Gear Solid 4 for the PS3. Like, it's proven like very daunting and very difficult. So we might see less of like the PS3 like remasters and remakes than we will of
That's also
PS2
another
and
very good
PS1
point
ones.
because it's like it depends on how the developers themselves do the game and make it for that. Because like there are certain things where it's like they could create something that works flawlessly on the PS3, but then like you move it on to the PS4 and you try to do it, and they're like, "Nah, this won't work."
Yeah, you can do a remake, but not a remaster, and that's also why I'm kind of with Ray. I'm surprised they haven't done like a Metal Gear like actual remake, like ground up. And maybe it's because Konami won't let them, and that sounds like something Konami wouldn't allow.
Yeah. And there's also that factor too, where it's like you got to get all parties to agree, which is why. So
Yeah, that's the hard part.
back when they announced Dark Souls 1 remaster, everyone was sitting there going, "Why didn't they just remaster Demon Souls? That was the older one." And then they came up with like, because Demon Souls is a Sony like title that's owned by it.
Yeah.
They may have not been able to get Sony's approval to do the remaster. Or they didn't want to do it at that time.
Yeah, possibly because Sony might have been planning their own. Like you'll get issues like that. Like wasn't that a big thing with like WoW Classic, with like Blizzard shutting down like older servers because they wanted to release WoW Classic? Does anyone remember this controversy? This happened a number of years ago.
I think I remember something about like that, but I don't know too much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, Rory.
Yeah, what's up?
Because you're talking Metal Gear Solid 4, I have something to show you, actually.
Yeah.
He will be back.
That was faster than I thought.
That was really fast.
So,
That was very fast.
As you know, I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan, and so when I bought my PS3, like right after they released the Slim model and dropped into 130, I was like, I gotta get Batman Arkham Asylum, because it released like the week before or something, and I have to get Metal Gear Solid 4, otherwise, like, why am I even alive?
Yeah.
Okay,
and so I got to the GameStop that was near my college town, and they didn't have Metal Gear Solid 4 on the shelf, so I was like, guys, come on, help me out. What you got for me? And they pulled this out from behind the shelf.
Oh, damn. That is... I don't even know if I actually know anyone who even owns one of those.
So I still have the soundtrack and the Kojima Productions Blu-ray and all the stuff that goes, like, it has like the metal front and everything. Yeah.
Oh, damn. That is really cool.
Metal Gear is life.
Yes, I agree. I've never actually seen one of those. Wow, you had good time. So what year would that have been? Like when the Slim came out in
This would have been 2009.
2009. Yeah. Yeah, legit. Damn. Konami wants to know your location.
Look, Konami makes Yu-Gi-Oh! They know where I am all the time. I'm absolutely certain there's a chip in my forearm somewhere.
Damn. Yeah, and MGS4 is a great game in my opinion. It's a bit controversial amongst fans, but I have a lot of love for that game actually.
I have very vivid memories. My roommate at the time was trying to play the game to beat me to the ending. So I remember beating him to it in our living room and like knocking on the door, like, Brody, come out here. And so then it was like 4 a.m, so we just stayed up the rest of the night watching the last cutscene because it's like 90 minutes.
Yeah, it is 90 minutes. That's right.
I think I've heard that story because you're like, yeah, the cutscenes are extremely long. And I was like,
It's
what?
like a
I was
movie.
like, why would you?
Like, I forget. I used to know exactly how many hours of cutscenes there were. But like it's 9 hours
Jesus.
of cutscenes.
Oh my god.
Oh my
The,
lord.
I'd be that guy who skips them
That
all and
is
then
so
asks
much.
questions at the end, like, what the fuck is
I think
happening?
most games you could
I
maybe
think they're actually
say-
unskippable.
Oh, then I would never play these games.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think most games tend to have like maybe 2 to 3 hours of cutscenes usually, don't they?
I think it depends on the
Maybe
game.
4.
Yeah, like
Yeah. I mean, because you got to think about like there's a lot of gameplay in between that, you know?
yeah.
That is so.
It's
So much.
intensive. The beginning is like kind of lengthy, and then there's like
I see
other
why it's
cutscenes
like
near the beginning.
dedicated fans have to be fans.
Oh
of,
yeah,
like,
Eric's here.
Fallout.
Eric's here. We're talking about actually that like here. I'm just gonna drop my Talk to Hide emote here, done by my amazing and talented girlfriend Morgan. This is actually she actually drew the box from
Oh yeah.
from Metal Gear Solid. Like that's actually the like the box directly from the game that's drawn there. Oh, it's such an
Pure
amazingly
art.
good game. Yeah.
Like, there's a section of the game where you go back to Shadow Moses and you're flipping between the Metal Gear Solid 1 art and assets back to Metal Gear Solid 4 before, like, the B&B fight. The game is beautiful.
Yeah, the B&B fights are actually some of them are a bit weird, but they're actually really enjoyable. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to deal with Screaming Mantis. Much longer than I'd like to admit.
I also like the London section.
Yes. Oh, that game is great. I should go back and do a replay. I definitely will.
Seeing how you're such a fan, I'm surprised you didn't push those up on your timetable for like game streams, like when you first started. Because I know you started with Oblivion, but like I know you're a huge fan of the MGS series, but I know you
it
were
was
saying
mostly
it's
the
because-
difficulty.
Yeah, it's that, and then like it's difficult to like emulate those games or something. It's like it was difficult to get access to them.
Streaming from the PS3, like streaming my like Legacy collection for the PS3, will be a bit of an ask, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna do it.
Because I know you
it's
said the
a lot of fun.
easiest one would be Phantom Pain, obviously, because it's
Because I can just do it's just PC. I won't play through the whole series because that like people will just murder me. And who wants that?
Bye, Eric.
Oh.
And I mean, like, why wouldn't you want to play through Metal Gear Solid 5? Like, ask me, why are we still here? Just to suffer?
I saw the intro for Metal Gear Solid like twice, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" I just remember seeing like the flaming horse like randomly come out, and I was just like, "What?"
Man on fire.
Even my dad
was
thought
so
that was weird, and
confused.
he's like played like a bunch of the Metal Gear Solid games all the way through, and even he was like, "This is a bit like out there." Eric said, "Wait, what?" But
I don't think he knows he was purged.
good.
Okay, so that can bring us into because I know Rory was talking about it with somebody from Morgan's chat. I don't remember who, but they were talking. It led from Infamous to like future games, and then yeah. So
Oh yeah.
Infamous was done by Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is
That's
also
right.
doing Ghost of Tsushima, but we have not heard anything about that since they announced it.
We
what,
haven't.
last year at PS.
Wasn't announced last
like
year.
2
it
years
was,
ago.
it was 2
2
years,
years
ago.
ago?
Yeah, it was
and
2 years
then,
ago during
Yeah, it was
Sony's
2
like
years
very
ago.
like eccentric E3.
Yeah.
Oh right, because
I
they didn't
remember
show
that.
up this year for E3.
Yeah, you remember the guy? He was playing the
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And they showed more gameplay of it, and it does look phenomenal. But they
I'm so excited.
now right here, there's an article a day ago. They said Sony reiterates Ghost of Tsushima will still release for PS4, but I would not be surprised though if they were just going to do a dual release.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
it's
just
like,
gonna say
oh, it's
that
definitely coming out for
probably a
PS4.
dual
Yeah.
release because
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's gonna be like it'll come out around holiday 2020 probably because they're just gonna do a dual release for it. I bet.
that'll
And you can play
probably
with,
be
like, upgraded assets.
yeah, there will probably be one of those
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
where it's like you can get on either or, and that's gonna be
Mm.
one of those games they first test the like whole remaster aspect for the next gen.
It does look phenomenal still.
Yeah.
And
The-
I'm so excited for it.
Like they're very good at gameplay, just like making
Very
the
much so.
moment to moment really enjoyable. And that's what honestly like I get like the historical aspect of this game as well and being interested in exploring that time period of history, but like the big thing for me is going to be the moment to moment gameplay. Very much looking forward to that. Oh, also in the spirit of just like game releases, I should mention that Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming to PC. I think
Yes,
that most people have heard
that's
about it right
right.
now because it's such a big game.
Melly and I were actually talking about it because we were like we kind of want to get it again for the PC.
I know.
It would look so nice. The load times would be so much better. Also,
I would play it with you guys if you got it again for the PC.
And then we could all do the multiplayer together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I'm 100%.
I
Do
know.
they
It's,
have a
I
release
know.
date for
I know.
that?
I know. Paco's really excited about that. I don't know if she's
Look
still
really
here.
quick. I can't remember.
They do have a release date. Oh, I'm almost sure. I think they have a release date for Steam because it's coming out. It's a scattered release on
It's not
different
a
launchers.
Epic Games exclusive, and then
It is coming out on the Epic Games Store, I think, before Steam,
Oh.
but it is coming out on Steam, and it's not as much of a wait as like Borderlands 3 is going to be.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
they'll probably also have that on the which we had talked about
Rockstar.
before, the Rockstar launcher.
Yeah.
November 5th. So
oh, that's pretty
less than a
soon
month.
actually.
But I think it's December for Steam, is it? Or is that November 5th for Steam?
Just as coming to PC November 5th, so that probably
That's
Probably the first
yeah,
one.
that's
Yeah.
probably Epic.
yeah.
I thought I heard December for Steam. That might be a rumor.
You know what I can
Um,
do is I can just get on Steam and look it up on there instead.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, wait. I don't need to
I'm
actually
assuming
open
they'll
it.
have a page for it already.
And then
I don't need to open. Can you stop it? Jesus.
for
Steam
other
was like-
things. Are there other games like Ghost of Tsushima that we've seen but not really heard anything about from that given point? Because I know they just released a bunch of Last of Us stuff. The Neo 2 Alpha I got invited to, but after
Nice.
that I didn't really hear anything about it. So those two games heard something about, but there's still no like given. Did they give a time frame for Last of Us 2?
Comes out what is it exactly, Melly? February.
February 21st, 2020.
Also, Red Dead Redemption 2 is not on Steam yet. So
oh,
I
it's
have
not
no
on
idea.
Steam.
It's
The,
not on Steam. It's not coming up for like a pre-order or anything yet.
We've heard like comically little about what we talked about. I think I mentioned it last week. Bethesda's Starfield.
But I
Right.
wonder,
Has
though.
like very, very little even mentioning of what's going on.
This is the first time I've been on the Epic Game Store website.
I've been on there to
I-
download free shit. That's about it.
I've been on there too because the Unreal Engine 4 launcher is actually tied to the Epic Game Store, which makes me sad.
It's not coming up on Epic Games either.
I
So
assume
have no
Starfield
idea.
was canceled. No, it's not canceled. It's still in development.
No,
but
it's-
who knows
it's
what?
Bethesda, and they just don't talk about stuff.
What is so
they
run
really
through
don't.
what Starfield was supposed to be again?
Well, no one knows. It's just a space
no
RPG.
one knows.
That's all
Like,
they said.
no one
That's
No
all
one
they-
knows like anything about it.
So-
It's like
I imagine
supposed
it's
to be a
supposed to be like
Bethesda
a
RPG.
better No Man's Sky or like their take on No Man's Sky or something. I'd assume because
it's like I think they're gonna make it like Bethesda style. So like I guess it'll be like
I mean, the Starfield
Elder
announcement
Scrolls in
trailer-
space.
The Starfield
Elder
announcement
Scrolls.
trailer was a full minute long.
Yeah.
And literally all of it is just like, whoa, that's loud. Is literally just like they pan up onto a planet. It goes down onto like some kind of satellite, and that's it. It just says Starfield.
that's it.
That was
So
it.
we know the title. That's it.
So
That's
it's
where-
kind of like
That sounds like
also.
the Elder Scroll one where it was just like a title shot and then that
I
was
was
it.
Yeah.
just about to say that. That's exactly what they do. It was just a landscape pan and then just Elder Scrolls 6. And that was
Yeah.
it.
And unlike at least in the Elder Scrolls, like the shot they did showed geography, so you could guess at like where it might be. Like there's stuff to uncover. But
And that's
like,
what a lot of fans were doing too. It was like, okay, it's got to
Starfield was
be in
just
this
like,
area.
nope, here's the title.
You
You
that's
can't
it.
do that at all with Starfield.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
there's
just a
no
new
lore for-
universe. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no.
Not
I
to
just
mention
don't
that's
trust
all they
Bethesda
had.
anymore. I don't trust Bethesda anymore either. I'm right there with you, Ray. I think Bethesda lost a lot of goodwill over the past few
76
years.
He's been hurt too many times.
76, and honestly, like, I know everybody has different opinions about Fallout 4, but I think almost everybody's opinion is that the role playing was not of the quality we expect from the Fallout series, and the choices were not of the quality. There's a really good video that mentions the branching factor of Fallout, which is to say, you hit a choice. Okay, well that, depending on what choice you make, that splits off into two branches of the story, and then each of those branches has their own choice, etc. And the multiplicity of that forms what we call the branching factor. And like in Fallout New Vegas, you have important choices right away as soon as you start the game. And in Fallout 4, there's a guy who offers you a quest at the beginning of the game, and it gives you the option of yes or no. And if you say no, you still get the quest. Like, it's not a real choice. They just assume you're gonna say yes.
That's a huge debate. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
no, it's like, well, you get it anyway. It's like, what? I
Yeah,
didn't want
exactly.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
They're like, nah, you want this. And it's like, what?
Yeah, you can say no literally the entire game and nothing changes. It's like really sad.
Yes, Starfield is the space game that they didn't talk about. They just kind of showed the title, and that was it. And they
That was
glossed
all.
over that real fast.
Another settlement needs your help. Oh my god, Fallout 4. It's a good game. It's got lots of great things. The gunplay is really great. No, but oh boy, the role playing, that writing.
So
Ooh.
you talking in depth about the decision and like you saying no, and then giving you the quest anyway, and then the whole element of like decisions affecting gameplay. Are you guys more fans of games that do what like Infamous does, where it's like you only get two choices? It's like a good or evil factor. They did that in Spider-Man Web of Shadows as well, where it's like you pick the symbiote side or you pick the more heroic side, and that leads you to an ending that's like scripted. Or do you prefer more like The Witcher kind of like deal, where it's like, oh, you get 3 or 4 dialogue options, you go through these, and then like there's optional stuff that pops up that you can do, but if you don't do it, it'll affect something. So it's a lot more wider range for like decision making, but it also adds more to it. Because I feel like it depends on how you enjoyed playing the game. Because like I know certain people who are like, they don't want to spend 80 more minutes on this quest that already took them like 45 minutes because there's extra stuff, as opposed to just like, oh, I'm doing the good option as opposed to like the bad option.
So like my problem with like the binary systems is like in Infamous, the choices are like be a normal human being or blow up a bus full of children, and this will determine whether you're good or bad. And then in Web of Shadows, you could play a symbiote Spider-Man and then like choose not to cheat on your wife and still be a good guy. Like the suits, like that kind of stuff, it just didn't matter. And you knew like, oh hey, if I go back and see Mary Jane, I'm a good guy. And if instead I go to have sex with like Black Cat, I'm evil. It's like, that's like whatever. So I prefer like more nuanced stuff like The Witcher.
Yeah, I mean, because it's pretty easy in terms of, like, that is one of the things that I like about certain games where you can't really, like, tell in a moral system sometimes, because it's like, you want to do good things completely, but maybe later on in the game, even though the thing that you did was technically, like, more like a heroic good thing, it didn't necessarily turn out good in the end, you know what I mean? Like those are the kind of moral stories, like with a bit of, like with a karma system, but different, I guess. Like those ones I think are very interesting, because sometimes you just don't know. I think that's how it is in The Witcher, where even if you try to be like the best person, sometimes things don't always work out the way that you want them to. That would necessarily be good for the ending later.
I think for me, it just depends on the situation, because I think those two kinds of systems, it's very indicative of what kind of a game it is. And so I'm okay doing the binary thing if that's like, because that's so much like the story that Infamous is trying to tell. So it is kind of like, are you gonna be the good guy, or are you gonna be the bad guy, or even like to some
Infamous
extent,
is really easy about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so sometimes it's like, sometimes I just want a very clear choice in front of me, and I just, I do want to play the bad guy, I do want to play the good guy, so I'm okay doing that. But then I do also like complications in decision making. Like that was one of the interesting things, but also sort of frustrating things about playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's like you think you're making a really good moral choice, and then you end up like killing all the villagers or whatever by accident, like by like choosing to let your friend like help your friend.
Chapter 1, it's like, oh, this you have to make a decision, and then like chapter 7, it's like, oh, now you see the results of that decision. And
then later, like you make a decision if you try to save the baby. Like that's a pretty basic moral decision, right? And we're like, are you gonna let the baby die or save the baby? Like obviously we're gonna try to save the baby, and then if you save the baby, then like the villain gets away or something. So I don't know. Like, I actually enjoy both kinds of systems.
I enjoy both very much so. Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I know for certain in before you leave the first island, which is supposed to be, like that's the first area, there is a family and you're in like this area where like a bunch of stuff is like burned down, all like the area was sick basically is what the story was supposed to be. And the this family was like begging for mercy, like, but they were all sick. They had like this disease. And these people, like this one priest was like trying, like saying that we need to kill them. And so obviously like the moral, like the good way of doing this would be, okay, I'm going to fight these guys and save this family. Cause it was like,
it was like Phoebe's friend.
Yeah,
It was
Phoebe's
Phoebe.
fan.
Yeah, it was Phoebe's friend who was like with the little girl who befriends you and like really likes you, and she's asking for help. Please save my friend and my friend's family. And so you're like, oh my god, yes, of course I'm going to save them. But then what ends up happening is if you save them, they end up staying on the island and getting pretty much the entire island sick with this disease. Later on in the game, like 30 hours later, and you're like, oh my god.
And then it actually
I messed up.
spreads out farther than that because you
Yeah.
have all the people going and coming from the island. So like in main Greece, that's where it shows like, oh, everyone's infected with this plague, and then like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I actually caused this to happen.
Welcome
You're
back,
home.
AJ.
Hi, AJ.
Yeah, I think in like role playing style games, I prefer like the nuance thing. In action games, I don't mind the binary. I think a big part of my problem with Infamous isn't that they have a supervillain superhero binary so much as the bad part in Infamous Second Son is so poorly written. And the ending is so bad. Like Tony, did you play the evil version of Second Son?
So when I play Infamous, I'll play the side that I prefer, which is usually the hero side anyway, and then I'll just watch like the last cutscene of the game to see what the villain side is, because I played both sides on the first Infamous and like felt let down.
Yeah.
So I just watched the cutscene for the last fight in Infamous where you play as a villain, and no.
That's one of the
So-
worst endings I've ever played.
So how bad is it exactly? I mean, because you know how
I never finished it.
I've
'cause I
looked it
wasn't
up
really
and
into
I
it.
know what happens, but I don't remember. So I'm
It's-
assuming it's bad.
It's real bad. It
Well,
doesn't even
'cause-
suit the evil character that you're playing.
Because I know that like the good ending was like really nice. I really liked it. Like I felt like at the end of it did feel like maybe a tiny bit rushed for me, but I liked it. But I can't.
I want to
play
say
as
the
evil
bad ending was
character.
like he got shot down or something, and it was just like that was it.
I don't want to spoil the bad ending, but it is bad. Like,
But not like
It's
I'm a
just
super villain bad. Like this is poop and scoop bad.
it's not even justifiable. Just really, really awful. And it was a shame because it's such a fun game to play. Like, it's so good.
it is.
And then just at the end,
Oof,
Um,
that hurts. Game of Thrones.
honestly,
that's pretty
See, that's
bad.
one of those games
I
I,
think
never
he's
finished.
right. I
And
think-
I'm like, should I have finished this game? And so now I'm listening to you. I feel like maybe
Yeah,
it's
maybe it's okay. I
Play
don't
it again
finish
and
it.
do the good ending.
yeah, do
Yeah,
the good
just
ending.
Play it as a hero, and you'll have
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
And like we
Yeah.
said, like it's not like, and again, like yeah, I think actually I really agree with
Game of
Rory on that. Like
Thrones.
for role playing purposes, like for a role playing game, I definitely agree with that. And then for more of an action game, I do like where it's like it's very obvious. This is the bad route. This is the good route. And in Infamous Second Son, it's really really obvious. It's like sell out your tribe or protect your tribe or kill the guy. Don't kill the guy. Like it's very easy.
Well,
Yeah,
I feel
it'd
like
be-
with kind of newer games, like there are certain games that kind of try to do like a mix of both, or like their own take on it, where it's not really binary, but it's not as in depth as like The Witcher and stuff. One example I could think of. We've never played. I don't think anyone's played it except for Morgan, maybe Melissa, but. Detroit Become Human, because it's one of those games that has
Yeah.
like multiple options as opposed to doing one or the other, but it's not really like a Telltale or like something where it's like there's
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in Detroit Become Human. One of which is
Never mind. Should it be a requirement for us to play this if we're going to call our podcast "Streamers Become Human"?
probably. I mean, hey, at least there's
no,
one
at least
person on
somebody
there.
knows about it. I think that's the only requirement we need is one person.
So
to
one
know.
one
I
of
own
the
it,
things
hopefully.
actually. Yeah, one of the things actually is that because most of the time in like in Telltale games, like for the main characters and stuff, for the character that you're playing as, most of the time, if you mess something up and you get the character killed, they usually just go game over, and then you start back at your last at the last autosave. With Detroit Become Human, for I want to say at least two of the characters, for at least one of them, if the character gets killed, they're done. They're just
that's
done.
an interesting way to approach that. Like,
Mm.
if you
Yeah.
kill them off super early, then it's like, does it just cut
There's
to the
just-
next character?
Yeah, there's just no storyline anymore for them, which does affect it later on in the game when the characters are supposed to meet up. So yeah, like it's very interesting. Big time. There's a lot of teeny tiny little things that end up happening in the game. I do recommend it. Playing at least once. I actually which I never do this, but like I actually ended up trading it in to get something else later on, and I was happy that I did because now I got it for free on PlayStation Plus. So I would have ended up doing that anyways. It was okay. I mean, there's so many endings and stuff that maybe it gets a little bit overwhelming because you're like, wow, there's just way too much to do in this game. But it was okay. I do recommend playing it at least once if you guys like Quantic Dream games, which they're not bad.
And I think if you haven't played one, I think it's like $20 now or $30, and you get all 3 of the Quantic Dream games on PS.
I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it's all 3 of them. Which Beyond Two Souls, I would actually say
I
I
remember
like
watching Tiff play that.
better.
I don't remember.
I didn't
what
play that
game
one.
was
I played
about.
Heavy Rain, but I didn't play Beyond Two Souls.
Oh, Heavy Rain!
I loved Heavy Rain.
God.
Ash played that, didn't she?
I don't know. That would have been way before I started watching it.
The voice acting in that one is just
It's
atrocious.
so bad.
I don't think she.
I
finished
honestly
it.
can't get over
I think
it
she.
sometimes.
The agent, that's one of the worst voice performances I've ever heard. And I think he's a good voice actor. I think he just had really bad direction for what that character was going to be, or even where that character was supposed to be from, because that character is literally from nowhere. That voice does not exist on planet Earth.
One of my favorite parts still is the glitch that happened whenever you press the X button. Like whenever you'd have to press the X button to do an actual action, the character would scream out his son's name, just go Sean the entire time, even when you weren't near him. So like when you weren't near the character, you would just hear it somewhere in the background, like. Like it was.
That sounds like a
something
a
else.
coding error, like that game Rory brought up last time, where it was like it didn't work, but someone went in to fix it, and all they had to do was like change the last.
Colonial
Yeah.
Marines, yeah. They changed one line
Ellen
of code
Page
because someone
correct.
misspelled a word. They
I liked Beyond Two Souls. I never finished it, which it was actually really good though because I got it for free when it was on the free for PlayStation Plus. And later on, I looked back. I was like, I wonder how much that game actually was, and it was like a $30 or $40 game still. And because it was a download only, you can get it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the only time that you can get it physically on PS4 is through the Quantic Dream. The
bundle?
Quantic Dream bundle now, and that only came out like a couple months ago, I think. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. But yeah, the game was pretty good. I liked it.
So now that we're in line to how Detroit Become Human works, how do you guys feel about that system as opposed to? So I'm one of those people in games who, if I'm playing through it, and I know I'm not gonna do it more than once, I will try to get the best ending because like I want to get all the
That's what I do
achievements.
too, yeah.
So I look up all the like ending outcomes.
Mm.
If I was going to a game blind and then it did the thing like what Detroit Become Human did, where it's like if you off a character, get them killed, like that's it for them, and like they have a potential like 3 or 4 achievements tied to them. I don't know how I'd feel because then it's like, oh, now I have to either like reload an earlier save or like start the whole game over and make sure I tried different like combinations to keep this person alive.
Mm.
I want to say
For
in games that like force decisions that really affect the game to like that extent where it's like, oh, it's like over for that character, you can't do anything anymore with them, like all these achievements are gone now. I feel like it shouldn't be that strict on like decision making, but then in the same breath it's like I get why they do that, so then you have to like actually pay attention and play it out and see how it goes as opposed to just like, oh, good or bad, or like how the
For
motion
me,
goes.
yeah, for me, I honestly, it's not one of my favorite kind of genres of game, in my opinion at least. Just because, like, those kind, like, when it's so much, every single little thing that you do in the game affects the game later on, which, you know, that just makes it immersive and stuff, I suppose. But it just stresses me out, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I feel like I'd,
'cause it's
I'd
like-
freak out the entire time, just be like,
Yeah. And then like especially when they autosave and they're like, sorry, you can't go back. And it does just kind of stress me out a little. So playing other sorts of games where there's choice, but not so much so that it impacts it so hard that it'll completely mess it up later on in the game. And then like that's just for one decision. Like you could mess up 3 decisions and could mess up like 5 other things later on in the game too. It is just a little bit stressful. So I tend to like other games a little bit more. Not that these games are bad, but that's
Actually, a game not in terms of morality, but a game in terms of like choices affecting outcome and like having like a reaction to it. A surprising number of people that I've talked to have said that when they play XCOM, which is a game where you don't connect with the characters because they're just people you create, right? Like you just like you do some like very basic customization and then you take them out on these like tactical missions. But like when you've been through so many tactical missions with a character, and especially like one thing people do is they often name them after their friends, and that character dies. Like people
It's
will
like,
reload, try again, and reload and reload and reload. Like you still get committed to the character, even though that character doesn't have a story. Like there's nothing interesting happening with that character narratively, and you're still connected to it. I think that's fascinating. By the way, if you've never played an XCOM game, I really recommend playing either Enemy Unknown or XCOM 2. But especially Enemy Unknown, it came out in 2013, so it's going to be like no bucks now on Steam, especially during a sale. So definitely pick that up.
I feel like with decision making in games, there's like a very fine line that they can't do too much of like impactful decisions and too much of like decisions that don't really matter.
I kind of felt like that about, I think, the Telltale Walking Dead games. Because while I really enjoyed them, I think both times sort of disappointed with how little my choices actually mattered.
Yes, honestly, because I can remember Walking Dead season 1 in particular, and in season 2 actually also was the same way. Now I never played season 3 or season 4, which I probably will someday, but I know for a fact season 1 and season 2, like they would give you a choice between save this person and save this person. Whoever you save, the other one definitely dies. Like, okay, that's a pretty impactful decision there, you know, like, because you're saving one person and you are essentially killing the other one. And I can remember in season 1, I can't remember her name, but it was a female character and choosing between this guy named Doug. And I was like, honestly, I ended up saving the woman because she was really smart. She was really good with her gun. So I was like, she'd probably be a better asset later on, to be honest, because she could help a lot more people by using her gun. And then by, I think it was like episode 3, she gets shot in the head no matter what you do. And I was like, what was the point? Like,
It's like, why would you ask me if you like it didn't matter?
Yeah, she ended up not, and it's the same thing with Doug. So like, no matter what, like there wasn't really much that went on between them. It was just that it was either this character or this character, and they maybe had some different interactions.
And to the game's credit, like I think they did, the storytelling in them is so strong that you really do get invested in it, and so you really do feel the weight of those decisions. But then it all kind of goes away at the end. Like you go on the journey you go on the journey for all those chapters, and then you kind of you feel the weight of those decisions, and you get to that and you're like, oh, it kind of didn't matter what I chose. And so it does kind of rob it of like,
that's honestly probably
impact.
one of the worst feelings when you're playing a game that's so heavily decision like it throws a bunch of decisions at you, and then like at the end it's just like, oh, those 80 decisions didn't matter because I couldn't save this person.
Exactly. Well, and it's mostly because like you do all of these things, and then like we were saying, like with season 1 and season 2, you start out with a basically, it's not really a settlement, but like a group of people. And no matter what, by the end of the end of the first season, your well, not your character, but like the character that you're taking care of, Clementine, ends up all alone. And then in season 2, you have a bunch of different characters, and no matter what you do, most of them just end up dying. And it's like, what? There's not really much of a point here, to be quite honest.
I think the point is we'll be alone and everyone is gonna die.
I think it was teaching a hard life lesson.
Which is pretty on brand for Walking Dead.
Exactly, which is why I want to go like, okay, like even though I I love the Telltale games, I do, but it's not just for The Walking Dead, not just like killing people or anything like that, but it's kind of the same in terms of kind of all of them, because no matter what, where you get to, they're like by the end, when you get to the ending, actually, like maybe there's a different character, like maybe one or two characters don't show up, or maybe there's characters that are there that wouldn't have been there before, that are like in the ending, but pretty much everything else is the same kind of ending. Everybody gets the same ending almost, except for tiny little differences, I think. Which, yeah.
Eric says, I feel like continuity would have been so hard if they made huge differences to the ending. I know what you're saying, Eric, but let me tell you about a game series called Tekken. All right, where every character in the game, which has, a game that has like 30 characters in it, has a different ending, and none of them are canon except for like they select like an actual canon ending. So they have different endings that just don't exist in the next game, and they do this every game.
They did that for Injustice too, because like for both of them actually, like after you finish the arcade mode with like any character, it shows you like the alternative of the ending from the actual main game.
Oh,
what would happen
yeah.
if that character was there or whatever.
Yeah. In Tekken, they don't let you know what the canon one is. Like when it just like you find out when you play the next game, right?
Well, except
like,
for Tekken 7, because
except
that
for
does have a
Tekken
story
7.
mode.
Which does have a story mode, but doesn't have individual stories, which is really unfortunate because, like, if your favorite Tekken character is one that isn't in the main story, get fucked, I guess. Like, you don't get to see your character in the story. And such a small portion of them are in this. You've played the story mode for Tekken 7, I'm presuming, Tony? It's like a very small portion of the characters actually make it to the story mode.
Yeah, everybody else gets, like, a one fight story, like, as a side quest.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Of course, that's not the only problem with Tekken 7's story. The chief among them being the narrator that sounds bored out of his goddamn mind the entire
Oh my
game.
God,
He's so
yeah.
tired.
When you
And so
showed
I
me
found
some of
myself
that.
wondering, why would Heihachi do such things?
Literally,
Why did he
like,
capture me?
that's
Where is he taking me?
that's what he said. I'll never forget what he says. A reporter visited me and offered me a ray of hope. And he says the last part is like as if it's a question, and that's what really freaks me out about it.
He also doesn't have eyes.
Yes, that's another point. He also does not have eyes. And it's set over these weird like drawn backgrounds. It's like it's like it wanted to be an anime visual novel but didn't have the time or energy.
Oh my goodness.
Very weird.
So I know Beast has played this game, but I don't know if Tony may have, but I think it was called Marvel Ultimate Alliance. It was like a game that was huge on
I've
PS2
played Ultimate
and,
Alliance.
and PS3.
Tony has
yeah.
definitely played that.
Yeah.
I actually, back in the day for the time, I actually really enjoyed that kind of like decision stuff, because it's like you play through the game and then like they give you a whole cutscene at the end where it's like, oh, it plays through the timeline. It's like, well, because you missed this thing on this level. I think the first one was like, oh, you forgot to save Hank Pym's like serum or something. That means they couldn't get the cure out, so that like everyone got infected. And then the next one would be like, oh, if you save both like Jean or Nightcrawler, there was
Well, you
no
can only
like
save
that.
one.
Yeah, but there was like the whole. It wasn't like decisions that you knew you had to make. It was like stuff they told you after the fact, and then that got you to replay the game to prevent those like sort of atrocities from happening. I thought that was really decent.
Mm.
Because it wasn't like a game nowadays where it's like, oh, you have to choose then and there. It was more like you had to like kind of find and discover the optional stuff in order to get the good ending or like the perfect ending that was at the end. That was like a video recap.
Hey Tony, did you save Jean Grey or Nightcrawler?
I saved Nightcrawler.
Same.
Everybody saved Nightcrawler. Every
Wait, hold
single
up.
person saves
Hold
Nightcrawler.
Hold up. What does something happen in that game that like is Nightcrawler like is there something particular about the game's narrative that made you want to save Nightcrawler, or do you just really like Nightcrawler?
Well, it was
Um,
between Nightcrawler and Jean Grey, and everyone knows Jean Grey dies and comes back anyway. So I feel like, well, that was my reasoning.
okay,
It
yeah.
was just like I'm gonna save Whatchclaw because she's gonna die and come back anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tony,
my
your reasoning?
assumption, when I first played the game, my assumption was that she would come back as the Phoenix and be playable later in the game. Because like that's the Jean Grey thing. Jean Grey
Yeah.
dies, she comes
That's
back
the
as Phoenix,
continuity
and
that
you
we
can
all
play
Yeah.
know.
That's
her.
literally. Yeah.
And also, Nightcrawler's my dude. How you gonna let your dude die like that?
I think
it was
that's
like
fair.
you were in like hell or something. I think.
Yeah, I think you were fighting like Mephisto or something, and like the guy from Ghost Rider, and like he had him trapped.
Tony, did you ever watch the X-Men Evolution animated cartoon?
Yes, I did.
That was my shit back in the day. I loved that. I think that's a big part of the reason that I like the X-Men, actually, because like I'm not a big Marvel person at all, but the X-Men are a very special exception, and I think like that and similar things that were around at the time is a big part of the reason for that. Oh good, damn. I have a question for you guys. Since we were talking about like role-playing games and decisions and stuff like that, the game that broke my heart, The Outer Worlds, is actually coming out in like 15 days, and I haven't heard anyone mention it. Like, since it became an Epic Store exclusive, everybody was like, meh, and everybody's like given up on mentioning it.
I have
Like,
no idea what this game is actually.
Yeah,
So it's-
I know
It's really
nothing
cool,
about
actually.
this game.
So it's Obsidian. It's the people who made, well, a bunch of different things. And if you trace their careers back, they've made a whole bunch of other different things. But Fallout New Vegas, right? They did Fallout New Vegas, which is a beloved entry in the Fallout series, and probably the closest we're going to get to old school
That's
Fallout.
everyone's favorite, if I'm not mistaken. Is
Pretty
Fallout New
much. The
Vegas.
writing
Yeah.
is so good, it's ridiculous. And so after Bethesda had their Fallout 76 debacle, namely releasing Fallout 76, the Obsidian announced their game, The Outer Worlds, and people were like, "Great, it's a return to like old school Western RPG style games." And then they announced that it was going to be, at least for a little while, Epic Store exclusive. Made everybody sad, myself included. And I it's just coming out so soon, and like it feels like there's been so much gaming news about like PS5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 coming for PC that like I haven't heard anybody say anything about The Outer World.
This
anybody
is,
here buying
this
it?
is a brand
Right?
new game.
Maybe, I guess, yeah. Yeah, it's
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
a follow up for like some older game. Oh,
Nope,
okay.
no, not a remake whatsoever. Brand new thing, brand new universe. It looks amazing. Like I
It's
have no
also
problem
got
saying
poison
that.
stuff in it, right? Like I know that, or like
It
there's
does.
there's permadeath too. I think for the characters, if I remember right.
And since it's an Obsidian game, it'll have like really well written and nuanced choices,
Huh.
like with like
It
actual
sounds
ambiguity.
interesting.
Have you played New Vegas before, Melly?
No.
Can I recommend it? Well, of course I can recommend it. All I have to do is
You
say it. I
can't.
really
think you've
recommend New
actually- I think
Vegas.
you've actually mentioned it to me before.
I would definitely
That's
like
something that
on
I
a
might
Steam
enjoy.
sale. Like New Vegas is a wonderful game. It's still very playable. New Vegas with mods is like top tier.
This game
But-
sounds really interesting. It sounds like something I'd enjoy.
It
Like
looks
Outer
the art
Worlds
style
as well.
looks amazing. I think.
Huh.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. One of my friends at the game shop that I terrorize on a weekly basis is like counting the days until this comes out, but they're getting it on Xbox, and you get that with Game Pass, so they're not even gonna have to pay like $60 for it.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
Eric
yeah.
said. He was like, just getting like
Yeah.
Game Pass.
The Rory mods. Who would have guessed? Well, I found a lot of the post game content for wouldn't have been possible. Oh yeah, I mean 100%. I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that Epic gets more dollars to consumers, and I have no quarrel with that principle. Not to consumers. Sorry, I meant to developers.
To developers. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that happens with like, you know, there's a lot of games like PS4 exclusives that wouldn't have been possible without Sony throwing in a ton of cash,
Yes.
right? So I understand why those are that like people go for that. Same thing with like the Switch, right? Like Bayonetta only exists past the first one because of Nintendo. Like they've been solely funded. Like there was not going to get a sequel, right?
I'm really
Um,
upset I didn't like Bayonetta. Like I
I'm
really
also
wanted to like
upset I
it.
didn't like Bayonetta. Yeah, the and because it like in you have to admit on paper, Trev, it's a game you should like.
Yes, because it's essentially a rework of Devil May Cry. with,
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
some added
rework combat.
features.
Tony, are you a Bayonetta fan?
Yes, I'll basically like eat whatever Platinum Games gives me for the rest of my life. They made
True story.
Vengeance, okay?
Are you a Vengeance fan? Really, there aren't many of those around. But they're good. It's a great game, but like a lot of people don't know about it.
You're a robot ninja who fights Super Hulk Hogan, and you suplex robots.
It's got a good pitch, right? Like they did also the second Nier game, which is
Near Automata.
very impressive. Yeah. The first one, I don't like. Not many people played it. Like it was a PS3 game.
I've always wanted
like,
to play Near Automata. The only problem that game I have that prevented me from playing it was that they switched camera views. So it's not always like first person or third person. It's like top down every so often. And I really don't like doing top down stuff. Like there was an option for that in Dragon Age, where you could do like the
Yes, there
tactical
was.
thing.
Yeah, that's right. Inquisition.
Never
there was,
used
yeah.
it because I hate that form of like playing. I'd rather have like a third or first person. And
Sure.
do it
Yeah.
From there. And then what I wanted to mention real quick was that
Mhm.
Outer Worlds does look cool. It from this screenshot alone, it reminds me of two games in particular. It reminds me of Fallout or not Fallout, Far Cry, and
Okay,
Crysis.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, the color like brightness is very Crysis-esque, which is interesting. Also about Bayonetta, by the way, I've only played the first one. Second one was a Wii U game. I never had a Wii U, but now that I have a Switch, I'm gonna eventually buy Bayonetta 2. I'm very excited about that, and then I'm very excited for Bayonetta 3.
Well, if you
I'm
buy
assuming I'm gonna like
Bayonetta 3, you get 2 for free with it on the Switch.
True, but if you buy Bayonetta 2, you get Bayonetta 1 for the Switch. That would enable me to play the whole series.
I thought you owned the first one on Steam already, though.
I do, and I have it on PS3. But maybe I wanted to play through the whole series on Switch for some reason.
Make sure to buy it new because one of them is download only code.
It's a key. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Now I have a computer that can handle it, but the game's old and spoiled to hell. Oh wait, what was it? Oh yeah, Nier Automata. Yeah. Platinum Games are very talented. It's unfortunate they had that canceled game, Scalebound. And although Scalebound looked like a bit obnoxious, I'm sure it would have been really good. And I'm sad it got canceled because they're.
It did look really good, actually.
So this game that I've known about for a long ass time, that like everybody I've talked to about knows nothing about, I've not heard of since like 2016. Here's the article for it. The game is called Lost Souls Aside. So if that rings a bell, then congrats, you're one of the few people that actually know about this game.
It doesn't ring a bell at all.
It
This is already something I can tell Trev is gonna like.
Yes, it's like the description I saw from it was Final Fantasy 14 plus Devil May Cry, and I enjoyed both of those games very much.
You mean 15?
Yeah, 15. Sorry,
Yeah. Okay.
I always say
yeah.
14.
Wow, 14 plus Devil May Cry would be a weird genre
Yeah,
combo.
no, 15.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds real good. Okay, I gotta find out who's making this. From
This is
developer
like a
Bing
really
Yang.
small developer. Apparently, it's like one. It was like one guy, and then it got picked up by a company or something.
It's so small a developer that they're not the first thing that pops up when I type in Bing Yang.
Yes.
Okay, this could be interesting. So okay, so sorry, when you're saying you haven't heard anything, it's a timed PS4
I
exclusive.
heard about this game back in 2016, and then from then I have not heard anything about it since. But they're definitely working on it. I just don't know any updates.
Weird.
Everyone should
Ray,
definitely play Dankest Rapper.
Danganronpa was a game on the PSP to begin, Ray, actually. And then it got popular and it became an anime. You can play most of them on the PS4 now and the Vita.
And
I
I
think
think
they're all on PS4 now, actually.
Yeah,
there's some of them on Steam. The
probably yeah. But yeah, it was a Game First. It's actually very interesting because I guess for the English version, it was super interesting because for the anime they Morgan just actually me.
So let me just weep-splain this to you, okay?
Hey, come on, I'm the weeb person, okay? I gotta. But it was actually really interesting because I guess the only English voice actor in the anime, I think it was the main character that they got. He's the only one that is the same voice actor for the game and the anime. If I remember right, I could be wrong. But which I thought was super interesting. Before they cross-released all of them everywhere, yeah.
So,
But yeah, yep, they're games. I mean,
So-
if you find that interesting, Ray, now there's games you can.
So, Trev, they are still working on it.
Yes, I checked their Twitter, and apparently they wanted
Yeah, I'm
that
on their
game to be
Twitter as well.
finished by 2018, and given that it's almost the end of 2019, I'm assuming they did not finish it.
No, they did not. But it looks like they are still working on like showcasing it at things.
Yes.
I
I just don't know I don't know if it's getting the Final Fantasy treatment for 7 remake, where it's talked about, and then like 4 years later they'll be like, oh yeah, here we have an actual release date.
That happens.
or the Bayonetta 3 treatment, where it's like a billion Nintendo events and still nothing. Like,
Like, I want to know the hiccups between like when they announce something and like the actual date they get out, where it's like what happened along those lines that pushed it back or like prevented it from coming out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes I think it is like things like console generation awkwardness. Like, I honestly think that's a big part of the Elder Scrolls 6 thing. Is like, hey, we've been spending years making just Skyrim over again, and now like we might have been able to release it, but there's new consoles, so we're like waiting. I guess.
Yeah.
That can definitely play a factor.
Because, like, that game looks like I think it's going to be a Sony exclusive. Because that's what the article said. It was, like, a timed exclusive or something. But it's coming out
Not
first to
surprising.
PS4. So that's only going to help the PlayStation, like, name as, like, when people have that come out. And if they were going to do, like, a PS5 release, then that'd only boost.
Yeah. That's true, yeah. Although it's interesting. Some games that are the last in like a life cycle have really big successes. Like Last of Us was
Yeah, Last
really
of Us
late
was one
in
of
the PS3
later
life cycle,
ones.
Yeah.
and it's like, and that really like you would think that might hurt it, but it didn't at all. And maybe it's just so good that you could release it at any time. Because some games, their release date really matters. Like a big part of the reason Borderlands is successful, I think, is actually because Borderlands 1 released in August when there are very few other games getting released. Like that's not like a big November rush or anything like that. But with Last of Us, it might not have mattered. What are you guys getting this November?
It's just that good.
Pokemon.
I'm getting Pokemon and Death Stranding. Those.
I don't think there's anything else the rest of the year that I'm, like, excited for.
I'm gonna get Death Stranding and the Jedi game.
Oh, does Fallen Jedi come out in
It's in November, I think.
November.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is that
I
supposed
meant
to
to
be
talk about
multiplayer?
that. So this is hilarious. No,
It's
it's
a
a single player game.
Oh.
Yeah,
Single
yeah.
player only, no microtrans.
They're planning on not screwing this one up, so we'll
Microtransactions.
see if they can actually not screw it up. So the system requirements for PC were released today. Now generally system requirements are like, they're often off. You can make things work on PCs that are heavily suboptimal.
Yes.
But like, because that's like one of the great things about
Wait,
PC is
Eric
like
just
settings.
said it requires 32 gigabytes.
32 gigs of RAM is in the
Oh,
What
requirement.
Lord.
the fuck?
Like, no.
Oh god.
Like, that's I don't even understand why you would like
Why?
maybe need that. Like what? Why? Like,
They know
what?
the standard is like 16 now. So why would you double that? And I thought you were gonna say like the requirement was like an i9 or something.
Oh
The,
my god.
they backpedaled. It's down to 16 gig. I can see because I have 16 gigs of RAM. I've had 16 gigs of RAM forever.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, 16 was recommended for me. Like that's the standard for most like computer builds, unless you're doing like an overhaul one where you can put 64 in.
Yeah, 16 is like plenty for most of the things that I do actually.
Well, technically,
like-
8 is plenty for, depending on what you do, it's good enough for, like, if you're just using it for, like, day-to-day or something. Like, if you're not, like, heavily gaming, and 8 is
Yeah, if
fine,
you're not heavily
but-
gaming, like you can get away with 8. I prefer to have 16. I've had like very specific issues at work where it was like, okay, I need more than 16 gigs of RAM for this like one precise use case, but that's very rare and certainly not the kind of thing I'd expect to be running into while playing a Star Wars game.
Yeah, exactly.
My God.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like 32 gigs of RAM in your computer for no reason in our current year, you're probably a psychopath.
Yeah, unless you're, like, doing, like, some heavy editing or, like, something, like, very RAM intensive, like, you don't need that many gigabytes.
Shenmue 3 is or rendering maybe. Yeah, there's
Oh,
like
right.
things you
That's
need.
supposed to come out in November. Also.
That's another Epic Store timed exclusive, which like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait on that one, like to come out to Steam, like so that's gonna save me a bit of money.
So
there,
being
like in the
a
immediate.
new PC person, it seems like Epic is the Sony of, like, PC, because they have all the exclusives,
Yeah.
and
They
then a lot of
kinda-
people hate them.
I mean, yeah, like to a certain extent. I mean, the Epic thing is interesting because it's like it's a like what do you like what causes you to tilt what way issue is like do you like hate the exclusivity like paradigm and the and the idea of competing on something other than just having more features and providing a better service more, or do you like the fact that it gives money to developers more? Like, and that's one of the reasons why it's one of the issues where, although I'm on one side of it, I definitely don't mind that people are on the other side of it because I think that giving money to developers is a perfectly legitimate reason to go with something. It's just not a enough of a reason for me. But
Eric,
yeah, they are.
I
yeah,
know
guess with
so
the
many people who hate
exclusives.
Sony. Like, whatchamacallit, with the whole Spider-Man thing, like, everyone was, like, hating on Sony because they didn't want to, like, share the Spider-Man character, and then, like, I know so many people alone who only own a PC who wanted to play Bloodborne, and they're like, fucking Sony. And like, there are so many people who like want the exclusive stuff that Sony has that just hate on them because it's exclusive to Sony.
in movie and in game things, I think is like. But I think the biggest thing with Sony that people have a problem with lately is the crossplay issue. That was
yeah,
like
that too.
a big controversy. Was like people really wanted cosplay or cosplay. People do really want cosplay, but in particular with Sony, they wanted crossplay.
Cosplay and crossplay.
I'm a fighting game and JRPG enthusiast. I'm essentially obliged to be a Sony follower. That's a good point. The fighting game community is largely centered on PS4. In fact, a lot of the major fighting game tournaments are on PS4s, not on PCs. It's not like League of Legends and Overwatch where it happens more on the PC. So that's like that'll really help people like it narrows your choices.
Well, what they did was smart. They like monopolized on all of this, and then like.
Let's be honest though, you have to realize if it wasn't for exclusivity, a lot of projects wouldn't be. That's 100% true for consoles. That's how they sell. That's part of how they sell consoles, right? Like they're willing to take a hit on developing a really expensive God of War because they know someone's buying a PS4 just for God of War.
Yeah.
Yeah, like to the fighting game point, Sony started putting money in PS3 generation to move like Evo to PlayStation because Evo was almost exclusively played on the 360 because more players had it. So Sony paid to have Evo move everything to PS3, and then when the PS4 came out, Sony paid for the development of Street Fighter V and kicked in money for the development of Marvel Infinite, which they thought would be like the second big pillar of the fighting game community again for Evo.
Oh, God. Poor Marvel Infinite. Bye bye. The
like $8.
Also paid for. Well, I don't know if they paid for it, but they got the exclusivity for like COD stuff. Like they.
Well, yeah, they took that away from Microsoft.
Yeah, they took it away from Microsoft.
Yeah,
It
big
used to be-
big F for Marvel Infinite. Yeah, really though. Talk about a big like because that was, as Tony will know, historically like Marvel games like Marvel vs. Capcom have been a huge part of the fighting game community and of the legacy of Evo and many of the best players that have ever played fighting games. And boy, did that take a turn. And Street Fighter, of course, sort of fell too. That wasn't like I understand that Street Fighter 5 is still insanely popular, but like, man, like big fall in terms of how much people liked it. Apologies to Ari if she's still here because we talked about fighting games again. We didn't mean to.
Well,
I
she
promise.
said that she should have been in bed a while ago, so I don't know if she's still here. She actually went to sleep. But yeah. So we're at 3 hours 5 minutes.
Yeah, we should all probably be asleep.
Probably. I
I
need
still
to.
remember people calling Chris G winning the last Evo that had Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Death of the Series. Yeah.
That's because Chris G is a fraud. You can tweet that at him.
You could tweet that at him. I'm sure you wouldn't be the
Harry's
first.
still here.
Just
Hi,
clip it
Harry.
and then send it. So if anyone had quick questions for either any of us or Tony, now's the time to ask. If not, cool. Everyone, thanks for showing up. Tony, thanks for forcing all your people to come in and show up.
Yeah, shout out to all of Tony's people who showed up for this.
Yeah, hi guys.
And you should check on Randy, see if he needs anything. He's been holding that position for a long time.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Really good at his
He's
job.
the
Really
best.
is.
You know, if I do start streaming, he's gonna have to be back there literally all the time.
Yeah.
And if I do start streaming, it's gonna be like PS4 stuff. I'm actually thinking about doing like Arkham Knight because it's October.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the very first game I streamed, actually, was Arkham Knight.
So yeah, that's me. I'm Tony. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have a Twitter. The government has a hard time finding me. I do have a Facebook. I have a Snapchat. And of course, I'm on Discord.
Alright. Do any of you have anybody who's on?
There's a whole bunch of people on.
So
Uh,
Travis did go to bed, must be.
Zippy's still on, I think.
But Zippy is still on.
Yeah, Zippy's on.
Alright, see ya, Ari.
Oh, later on, Ari. And
Hi, Harry.
also,
Good
everyone
night,
who showed up,
Ari.
thank you so much for joining us and hanging out another week. So, it'll be next week. We'll actually
next
be
week
on
we're
Friday.
back on the normal schedule, and then not too long after that, we're gonna have to do Wednesday again because we're all gonna
Yeah.
be gone.
At Telericon.
Yes.
Oh no, I'll be back in London for because I was gonna say because I'm actually gonna be in Newfoundland from the evening of the 10th to the evening of the 12th, but I will be back for the 13th, which is the Wednesday.
Yes, and then next Friday, we're gonna have AJ.
Next Friday's AJ. I was just about to ask who the
Yes.
Yeah, next Friday we'll be back, and we'll be back with AJ. Which and in the future we're gonna have Tater on. I was talking to
Yes.
Tater about this the other day. The other day being yesterday. Yeah, I had a great time tonight. Tony, thanks so much for
Thank you so much,
hanging out
Tony.
with us.
Hopefully you had
Oh,
a
yeah,
good time.
anytime. Definitely, and I'm looking forward to being back eventually.
For sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
And to everyone watching, all 13 of you, I love you and I cherish you.
Alright,
Good night, everybody.
how do you spell Zippy's thing?
It's
ZIPPYDASPINHEAD.
Alright, I didn't follow that, so
ZIPPY.
No,
Copy
I'm just-
pasta.
I'm just
Copy
waiting
pasta.
for in the chat.
Zippy Dustbin Head.
Alright, hold on, I gotta destroy Eric real fast.
Bye bye, Eric.
Aww.
So we'll be back. You guys will have to wait longer because we're gonna be back on Friday next week as opposed to Wednesday. So it'd be a week and 2 days as opposed to just a week.
Yes.
Hold out if you can't. Rewatch some more Vons. If you miss us that much.
Rewatch the VODs. Yeah.
Rewatch the VODs.
Tell your friends, tell your mom. Make
Yeah,
everyone
tell
listen.
everybody. Make
Yeah.
posters, put them up. Like there was a lost dog or something.
Yeah. I'll get my roommate to get Twitter. You can tweet at her to make her finally watch this damn thing.
Yes.
The
harass. Just walk up to people on the street. Have you listened to Streamers Become Human?
Yeah,
And if
just
they're like,
do
"No,
everything
I'm
you
trying
can
to go to
get
work."
us out there.
Like, no, listen.
I'm trying to go to work.
Just text someone. They'll be like, "Excuse me, it's Christmas. I don't know who you are," and you're texting me to listen to a podcast. Be like, "No, listen," and I'll stop texting you.
Yeah, I was like, no, listen, like you need to be here. All right. So take care, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.